Saladcast.
Un Septium.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday the 7th of September 2013. I'm Dan Train, joining me today Robert Kemp and Zachary Burgess.
September.
Septembrium.
Un Septembrium.
Septembrium, indeed.
That's what September means, doesn't it? The 7th? Because it used to be the 7th month before we added a bunch of months.
Really?
Maybe.
Yeah. It's Roman, isn't it?
Yeah, makes sense.
Or is that something else in Roman? Because sept is a common Roman part of the word.
Yes, you
Septum
do hear that.
Septus and
Yeah.
all those other words that have sept in it.
Yeah. I wonder what that means then, if it's not 7. Probably not, in that case.
No.
If it's using all those words, it probably doesn't mean 7.
Maybe it was just a coincidence. Maybe it was actually the 7th month. I wasn't just making that shit up. Because we did add a load of months. Because obviously there was like July.
Mm-hmm.
That they only added because of
shit.
Yeah.
But they must have... I mean, the months... You can't change the number of months because it's the number of times the moon goes around in phases and stuff.
I don't think it was originally, though, was it?
Really? Or it was just some random arbitrary division of the year?
Yeah, probably.
You'd think they'd base it on the moon. Seems like the obvious thing, right?
Then every month would be called Moonium.
Yeah, month literally is Moonium, pretty much.
It's Moontember. Why? Because there's the moon.
Month probably is the word month because MO from moon, maybe, probably, or moon. Probably comes from moon.
Moon.
Next moon.
Moon.
Couldn't say.
If we had multiple moons, then that would probably make more sense. Like, where certain moons are in invisibility, then we could perhaps name it. Like, what's the current moon situation?
What, moons that are only visible during certain times of year?
Yeah, it'd be really convenient.
But if the planet goes around once a day, then how would you manage to not...
Well, whoever came up with it first would be the one to name it all.
What are you talking about?
So say Britain came up with this idea, like, so we had 12 moons. And
for example, 12. Conveniently the same number as there are months.
And they all conveniently moved, so they all appeared for the same amount of time. You'd have it. So, but naturally, it'd be different based on where on the globe you were. So whoever was to notice this phenomenon and name it first would be the one to set the rules. The naming conventions. It's like, well, by that logic, it's not really that different from, like, time, is it? Where we are, like...
Time!
Well, where like, GMT is, like, the centre of time, and everyone is, like, either side of it.
Yes, I guess that's because...
Because we invented it?
We invented
Came up with
time, yeah. I don't know why that is, really, I guess. Europe is kind of
Well,
the centre of
because
civilization,
like
isn't it?
London Science Observatory or whatever came up with the idea of segregating it. I guess they probably already knew that there was like the further east you go, the because you're going around the Earth, you get different. It appears to be a different time of day, but then probably
the Rovers probably worked that one out.
Well, yeah, but then it was like probably
Greeks.
English Science London Observatory or whatever came up with the idea of actually having designated lines.
Time zones, having them go wobbly for no reason when there's national borders and shit.
Well, it has to be approximate.
Yeah. So that you can get the right train to the right place at the right time.
Was it just like a... Did Britain just decide that these were going to be like the rough segregations of time, or was it like some effort to try and standardise the system somehow?
Well, you just divide all the
12 hours or whatever.
all the longitudes into...
Well, mostly,
12,
yeah. But,
24.
But did they just decide, or was it agreed with like America that this was going to be like the difference, or like because presumably as in it was agreed that we were going to work by this sort of this system of allocating time zones, and then the Americans would have to adjust their clocks to.
It wasn't like they just came up with this and then it was because it's like we started using it first because of the colonies or whatever, basically. Because you had to keep time between the colonies, and then that just spread out naturally to adjacent places and. Because it's because we were the ones with the technology or whatever.
That's what I mean. That's what I was asking. Like, when did the timing mean that this? Well, I suppose like Japan and stuff would have been an interesting one. There must have come a point where they suddenly adopted our time zoning maybe, and then gone, oh shit, we're a couple of hours off. Or
Well, if you think about it, like, presumably, if you set your watch to 12 when the sun is highest in the sky, then you're never going to be more than an hour or so out of the official time zone.
Yeah.
Are you?
I guess. But doesn't like the position alter based on what time of the year it is, though, like slightly, like where it starts and ends. Therefore, like 12 at one time of the year can cast a different shadow to 12 at a different time of the year.
Not vertically.
Slightly.
Yeah, the highest point must always be in the middle of the day.
Oh, highest point of the day. But if you were to, like, say, use a sundial, you'd probably have to move that dial slightly throughout the year.
That's true. Sundials are complicated and quite weird.
Yeah. So they're sort of roughly right, but if you want to get real fancy, you need to do a lot of adjustments.
So yes, that's the history of time and how we measure it throughout the ages, as according to the Salad crew, apparently.
Fact.
So there are 12 moons, and some of them appear. And if you were the one that saw that moon first,
no, basically
you've
those
got
12
to decide.
The 12 moons basically had a fight, right, to see what the months would be named after. And so the moon won. All the other moons buggered off because
The moon won.
and then they weren't very happy. And so we looked up. And by the time we noticed, it's like, oh, there's only one moon. I guess we'll call them moons.
Since that, who knows what the other moons would have been called?
Exactly. One could have been Dave. We could have had Daves. Or Davis.
Days of the days.
Yeah.
That'd be annoying.
Yeah.
There's 30.
On the third day of the third daith. David. David.
I don't understand why Dave. Like moon isn't a name.
Moon. Well, I don't know.
What do you mean moon is the name?
Like a name for a person, whereas Dave is a name
it
for a
would be in
person.
Japanese, wouldn't it? Like, there's people that have names that translate to moon.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
That would happen.
I'm sure probably moon was a name in, like, Viking or something.
It's probably a name in lots of cultures, actually.
Yeah, probably.
Well, no, I meant the word that the word that became moon probably actually was a name at some point.
Yeah, it came from somewhere.
In some like Germanic language or whatever.
Something
that we
meant
stole.
Giant floating orb, you mean?
Loon. Moon. So, yes. So do we have any video game news?
Plenty.
Question? Oh, cool. Okay.
Well,
Do we?
Well,
After we had none on the way in here, you've looked at your iPad for 5 minutes and then invented some.
No. I actually had some things, as I said. There's like another 2 weeks have passed, therefore there must be at least 2 more bits of Microsoft news. And
Is that so?
that's currently the rule.
Okay.
It's probably 4 things, actually.
4 bits of news. That's like 4 weeks worth of Microsoft news.
I'll try and go them in the order in which I remember them. So the first one is Xbox.
No, let's have them in the inverse order that you remember them,
Sorry.
please.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So the first one is we now have the most mundane, I suppose, is that we now have a release date, which is the 22nd of November, and that is the global release date. It's not different in different territories, unlike the PS4's release.
Yeah.
So interestingly, that means the PS4, well, or not interestingly, depending on your stance, that means PS4 comes out before Xbox in the US
and after
it in the UK. So yeah,
Does it?
Yes.
What was the UK one for PS4?
It's 29th, so it's a week later.
I thought it was the 22nd.
Apparently not.
No, it is different.
Or the 21st.
And it's 15th, I think, in America.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I thought it was that, because it seemed like more than 2 weeks was too long.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting stagger. It's probably sensible. I don't know, because, roll out servers at different times, maybe.
Oh, maybe.
Yada, yada, yada. There may be some logic in it.
Who knows? Even though I don't think that week is going to make any difference to anyone.
Well, wasn't it that the PS4 one is sort of before Black Friday or something? So they were saying that could be a bit of a weird deal. Like,
I guess we don't really have Black Friday.
No, we don't have any concept of it, so it's irrelevant to us. But
so it matters to them.
Yeah. It's like,
does that mean the Xbox comes out after
Black Friday?
Okay.
Or on
it
Black
does.
Friday or something like that.
It's like Thanksgiving is super late in November this year or something, I hear.
Okay, so they're
It's
all
like the
before.
last week of November.
Yeah, because everyone was predicting it would probably come after Black Friday, but then I guess they'd be at risk of not having a November release date that they promised everyone. So it's, Anyway, yeah, I don't really understand the economics of Black Friday, so I can't really comment. But shit just happens. Yeah, so that's happening. Woo.
Okay.
Everyone can book their holidays now.
Oh, I think I know what one of the other pieces of news might be.
Well, there's one that hopefully
heard.
you guys could perhaps clarify for me, and it might be attached to the fact that Microsoft bought Nokia.
Really?
Yeah. So
No, I know they did that, but what could be attached to it?
I didn't actually bother looking this up or something, but I did hear that perhaps the head of devices has changed again. So it's no longer the lady.
Right.
And it might be someone from Nokia who they're bringing in to do this role, which might make sense. Then Nokia being a devices company to then host the devices division, which naturally includes Xbox.
Well, she must have only been in the job for like a month or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
So it's not been long. So yeah, I don't know if you guys haven't heard then.
No, I hadn't heard that, but it certainly sounds plausible.
Yeah, so the buyout of Nokia is an interesting one.
They bought like the core of Nokia. They don't seem to have bought Nokia, but they bought what Nokia does.
Well, they've bought their phone division.
Exactly.
So it's
the one that makes the smartphones and the dumb phones. So
yeah. Although the dumb phones are slowly being sort of phased out of Nokia's work. But, it's an interesting purchase because everyone has been sort of, well, I say everyone. There's a sort of weird analyst point of view to say that Microsoft just shouldn't be in hardware, claiming that that's just where they lose the majority of their cash. And it's like, well, they don't really lose cash on hardware, I don't think. They sort of break roughly even. It's like, okay, Surface lost money, but Xbox division turns a profit.
Yeah.
And
well, they've got they're obviously their aim is like Apple make a fortune out of hardware, so they want to just move
into that same. Yeah. You can't really make. I'm not sure you can really make money perhaps on boxed software anymore in the style that Microsoft does, which is why everyone's moving to a subscription model. Like, I don't know, the annoying Adobe model is kind of like Adobe's pricing model has always been kind of crazy. But they are actually phasing out buying boxed copies of the Creative Suite. So you have to have a subscription. Yeah. Which is kind of nuts.
Yeah, it's mental. As soon as they can get people onto that, though, then they're locked in.
Yeah, you're locked in forever.
And a load of businesses rely on that stuff. So
I kind of want from that kind of stuff a much more flexible model than everyone offers. Like, say Adobe were to offer like a proper pay-as-you-go model for software. So you are literally paying for it or for the amount of time that you end up using it.
Right.
Then having a license to things might actually not be such a bad proposition. You know, if you only use a video editing suite or a Photoshop on a periodic, but very sparse basis, then perhaps it's better to have a sort of pay-as-you-go thing where you're paying it for the couple of hours that you actually need it for each month or something. And then maybe you'd get more people on board from having this, having
lower
this barrier, slightly more casual use. And then, of course, you offered like the big subscription deals, perhaps to the bigger companies that require it. Ultimately, the model is something a bit like, kind of a bit like what some of the, I don't know, like the Oyster card, I think is where I was kind of going with this in a way. We have these sort of pay-as-you-go steps almost that's tied to your account. So you use the product for a bit, and then you get charged up to, for each trip, up to a certain threshold. And then perhaps you carry over onto some subscription thing, but just for that month, say, or just for that thing. So like corporations who rely on this technology get it at the subscription rate or whatever, but the casual user gets it for as little as they need, lest they use it enough to suddenly fall into the subscription category for that month.
That's far too nice.
I know, that's the problem.
That's
it's the perfect model almost, isn't it?
No, because it's far too nice. They don't want people to be able to spend less. They want people to always spend the same amount, regardless of how much they use it, because fuck them.
But in Adobe's case, this is the weird thing, because Adobe's pricing structure kind of inhibits people from learning to use Adobe products, or even just purchasing them on a whim, because they are so expensive. The home user can't even think to use it. Therefore, unless you're a student and can get hold of the vastly reduced cost student editions of Adobe software, then what is your into that world unless you go piracy? It's just I don't quite know what Adobe want to achieve with their pricing structure. it's a difficult thing because you want people to learn to use their stuff, so you can't use anything else, and you have something that you're instructable. But there is no way of doing that in the Adobe framework, lest you are a student, end up working for a corporation that are willing to train you, or you pirate. You know, what other choice do you have? I don't know. It's a bit of a shit route. At least with things like, okay, Visual Studio, the proper editions is an expensive bit of software. Let's not muck around there. It's really expensive. But they do those Express editions, which are completely free.
Yeah.
And have, so you can learn the gist of how Visual Studio works, how the things tie together, and then realize what you're missing in the full versions, that kind of stuff. That, to me, at least, is a route in.
It's a fairly common model, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a quite nice model, yeah.
I mean, Adobe have their slightly lower tier products, that like Lightroom for photographers and the Elements, I suppose they had for a while, Photoshop Elements. I don't know if that... Yeah, it's a terrible bit. It's not Photoshop, that's the problem, but it's like, you can't use it in the same way that you use Photoshop. I tried, and it was just not fit for purpose for what I wanted to use it for. And it
just sucks.
Yeah. I'm not even sure it exists anymore. I don't know.
No, probably not.
I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's like, I think if like everyone's move to subscription-based stuff is ever going to work, that's the kind of thing you need to be doing to make people want to have it over a fixed product.
I guess, like, getting back to Microsoft, they do have that kind of model on Office now, right? 365.
They have a subscription model, but again, it's not a true pay-as-you-go model. You have to opt in for and it's contracted. That's the other problem with the Adobe thing, is you can't just opt in for a month when you want to use it. You have to opt in for a whole year at a certain rate. And 365 is the same. You have to opt in for a whole year at a certain rate, and they have different,
name, I guess.
And they have different tiers of subscription that will grant you access to certain parts of the library. It's exactly the same, pretty much. And it's just, that's not how I don't think most users use that stuff. And the problem is a 365 subscription, I think, is slightly less than just buying a software box outright, like a home edition of Office, say. So there's some appeal there, I suppose, to some people thinking, oh yeah, but we could get this cheaper. Oh, and we get every update from that moment onwards, without paying extra every time there's a new edition. That kind of stuff. It's like, so maybe there's some appeal there, but I don't know. I still think it's funny. How often do you really use Excel at home?
Exactly, yeah. You need Word occasionally, but to me.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing your accounts or something. You could easily do that with the website or something.
Well, you use Word Online. I do my CV and stuff on just web Word most of the time now, and it's that kind of
Google Docs even.
Yeah, that all works fine. It's like, I don't get it. So there, stuff. Subscription models need work.
So that was another of your Microsoft news there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that the third or the fourth? Or was that the second?
Kind of all blurs into the second, that one.
Okay.
So the third one, which actually directly affects me a little bit. I suppose this is the fourth, actually. The second and third kind of blended together there. But yeah, the fourth one for me was, they announced for people who have pre-ordered the Day 1 edition Xbox that you can now choose to not get it with FIFA, and that you can choose to get it with Forza 5 instead.
I heard this, yeah.
Now, my ears pricked up when I heard that. Going, oh, well, that sounds like a much more appealing thing to me.
That's what you want anyway.
Yeah. Except Amazon are a bunch of motherfucking crap customer service bitches. So basically, because they announced the FIFA thing first, Amazon then just changed the Day 1 edition to be the Day 1 edition with FIFA. So everyone who pre-ordered with Amazon before just defaulted to the FIFA 14 edition. And then they introduced the Forza 5 edition, which is a different edition, which I can't just switch to. I do not have that choice. I do not have that luxury. So unless I want to cancel my pre-order and redo it again, which the customer service guy said may jeopardize your position in the queue for such a thing, it's like, I can't get it. So actually, in a way, they are... unless they still have allocation and I cancel and get the new one, for which I'm not sure anyone really knows what their allocation is, maybe at this point. And it's... I can't get the Forza 5 edition.
That really sucks.
So there's better situations for people that are pre-ordering late, maybe.
Yeah, I guess
it's a bit crappy.
It's Amazon's fault rather than Microsoft.
Yeah, because I emailed them to say, hey, look, is there a way I can switch? And they're like, no,
bastards.
Why don't you cancel your order? But in their defense, I guess at least they did tell me that it may be it may jeopardize my position in any pre-order queue if they do have a stock problem. But it's so at least they warned me about that. But holy crap, how difficult it is to flip the switch to say, oh, just get the Forza edition
for that guy. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and the way they're shipping it as well is it's a download code. They're not shipping a disc copy in the box. So the box comes with a download code to get you into the digital ecosystem.
I see. So you don't actually get a disc. Okay. So, so you use up hard disk space straight away.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. On your copy of Forza 5.
Yeah. So I did notice that, as a side experiment, that the Forza 5 pre-orders are now 45 and not 55. So maybe there is some sort of price settling happening. Let's say maybe the 55 mark that we've all been worried about isn't necessarily going to be the standard.
All Forza 5 is shit.
That's
a budget game.
Yeah, there is that risk.
So you think of getting the free FIFA and then buying
I'm not sure I have a choice. Yeah, I'll probably get the
Forza 5.
Forza 5 as a separate one, so that I might pre-order it not from Amazon, just to sort of say, well, fuck you guys, you can't have my extra money.
Yeah, fair enough.
just because of what they're not doing for me. But and apparently it's not every location. It's I heard there's only a few retailers offering this other edition as well. So it's Amazon Game and someone else
doing the Forza 5
doing the Forza 5 edition, whereas everyone else has only got FIFA right now.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know if that's a staggered rollout that they were just quick off the mark to incorporate it. Or...
could be.
Yeah. I think I'm out of Microsoft news. I can't think of anything else. But...
Yep.
Blur.
Okay.
Microsoft news.
I heard you'd be able to use the PS4 controller on PC, potentially.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Which is kind of interesting.
You sort of could with the PS3 controller if you had a Bluetooth thing in your PC, but not many do.
Yeah. I think there might be some proper drivers and stuff. Possibly. I saw people speculating about it. Still think the Xbox One controller would probably be the best PC game.
Yeah, probably. Well, people will probably design... I'd be more inclined to think that they would design for that, knowing that in the same way that they sort of designed for the 360 controller on PC.
Yeah.
Knowing that, that is kind of the official PC controller.
It is now,
for Windows.
Yeah.
And especially knowing that Microsoft are going to make a PC version of the One controller.
I don't think they are, but
not at launch.
Not
at launch. They've said they're going to make a specific version, but they said I think they said that the drivers wouldn't be out immediately.
That's right. That's
so it's going to take some time for them to remake the drivers to go on PC. But so eventually it will become the one they market in the same way as they did the 360 controller, where the PC and the Xbox version are pretty much the same other than a serial number.
And apparently, as I discovered when I bought one, it's I went on Amazon to see about getting a 360 controller because I just wanted a new one for me.
Yeah.
So I went and looked at. First of all, I just typed in Xbox 360 controller, and that brings up the Xbox 360 controller. And I wanted a wired one because I don't want to still use Rob's dumb wireless adapter that plugs into USB. So I looked at that, and then I was like, "But what happens if you go into the PC section and then go to the Xbox controller?" And it's actually a different listing, the PC version of it, and it's cheaper.
Different SKU.
For some reason.
It probably worked fine with the 360 as well.
Yeah, exactly. But so then when I actually got it, it's the Amazon page had weird things where it's sturdier construction for PC, and I was like,
what?
That's just got to be bullcrap.
Nice.
So then when I eventually got it and compared it to the actual Xbox controller I had, I was like, this is exactly the same, except the PC one has crosshead screws, so you can take it apart easier.
Oh, okay.
Weird.
It's the only difference that I could tell.
That's probably just a difference in the manufacturing of controllers in general since the time period or something.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a recent Xbox controller, I guess.
Yeah, I think the one you had off me was one of the
quite old,
fairly old ones, yeah.
But yeah. it was cheaper, so I guess that's good. So if you need to buy a Xbox 360
wired
controller for PC, make sure you get the one that's actually for PC.
That is weird. We should try it at some point. Just plug it into the Xbox and see if it's
bound to work fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I mean, they do.
It's like the PC one shouldn't even be cheaper because it comes with a fucking driver CD, and that's like extra manufacturing cost right there.
Why would you even?
That's just Amazon. The reason it's cheaper. I bet it's not list price cheaper.
No, maybe not.
It's just Amazon being weird. They keep.
Also, why did they provide a driver disk these days when you could just plug it into Windows and if you have an internet connection, it would just go, oh yeah, I've got that.
It's not technically drivers, it's like drivers and a little extra thing that makes the home button actually do something.
Oh, yes, no, I had that. That was crap.
Yep, get rid of that immediately.
Turn that off.
Don't even install it.
Well, if you're in a Windows Live game, the home button, the guide button
anyway.
just works as you'd expect. So it's... Yeah.
It adds a pointless program which is the only purpose apparently is when you push the button it shows you which controller it is, and if it's a wireless one it tells you how much battery it has.
Yeah, it didn't work very well for me that when I had it on for a bit. So
it's a background process, so fuck that.
Yeah, that too.
Get that shit out of there.
The guide button actually works in Steam Big Picture, so you can use it there anyway.
What, to bring up the Steam overlay?
To bring up the Steam overlay.
Oh, nice.
So they thought it through. I quite like Steam Big Picture, but I never find myself actually with any need to use it.
Because you don't have your PC connected to your TV.
But it's a really cool thing. It is a cool thing because if I'm playing a game with a controller, it is somewhat more convenient to use the Big Picture version of the overlay to see things and
is it?
Get around. Well, because
you're still sitting at your fucking computer desk 2 feet away from the monitor with the keyboard in front
then I
of
have to put
you.
the controller down, and I have to then sort of like readjust myself to sort of sit comfortably at the keyboard and type out a message, and perhaps use the mouse to browse around it. And besides, Big Picture looks cool. It is a cool interface when it works. I still don't think the store works for me in Big Picture. But as I say, it's been a while since I've used it. Not that I'd use the store in Big Picture anyway. Any more news?
What news? Dunno.
I got a lot. To be honest, past the Microsoft spasm. Oh, 2DS. God, how weird is that thing?
The 2DS, yes. I forgot about that thing.
How weird is that? I mean, I know it's not for us.
It's for the kids.
Technically, it is supposedly a kid's thing. But I hadn't thought about that, right? So, supposedly if it's like flat, sturdier, hingeless construction means that it might be more suited to young kids. And I was sort of like, is that strictly true? Because you've got exposed screens.
Yeah.
Aren't they just going to get fucked slightly faster than if you had a closed clamshell thing?
I would say so.
The hinges are the fragile bit though, surely.
I guess.
I don't know. It seems just as bad. I heard that it's not 2 screens, it's actually 1 screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They put an arbitrary split in the middle,
which is extra weird because it means the top screen is also a touch screen, but they've put like a layer over it so it doesn't work. It's like cheaper for them to manufacture that.
Or would the sensor just be the layer, or the touch sensor just be some layer that they put over the top of the screen underneath? I mean, that seems plausible as well. I mean, given that they're just those resistive screens anyway,
yeah, they are.
It is just like a layer, isn't it?
Yeah. Or maybe they just removed that layer from the... Anyway, it's 1 screen, supposedly.
That's weird.
Which is weird.
That is weird.
Do they have different resolutions, those screens? No.
Kind of.
They are different sizes.
They're not different DPIs, but yeah, they would. Yeah, in that sense of the word resolution.
Oh.
So same DPI, but different actual physical dimensions and different pixels. Therefore, it's still weird. Like people were saying, it's like, oh, why didn't they just get rid of if it is like built like that? Why didn't they get rid of the gap in between the screens?
Right.
Like to try and bunch it up,
because
so you don't end up with.
So all the games
zone.
are programmed to compensate for that gap when things transition. Sometimes badly, but they are.
Yeah.
It is kind of an annoying dead zone, but it's like I'm not sure really how you could. It would look funny if you didn't compensate from that. Maybe. Don't know. I can't really think of many times where that's really screwed me up. To be honest, but
I was thinking more of like what. I mean, sometimes there's obviously talking about what I've been playing, but not actually talking about it yet. We'll get to that later because Rob probably has to go first this week.
Fair enough.
Maybe.
But when I was playing like the new Mario and Luigi, there's quite a lot of stuff in that game that's a lot easier if you have the 3D on. Because,
really?
the battle, dodging and stuff in battle actually uses the 3D where attacks come from the background and stuff.
Oh, I see. So to try and judge when it's about to hit you, you find it easier if the perspective is there.
Yeah, and then there's also things where I wonder what it will do, because there's one of the special attacks. You have to tilt the 3DS, at the start of that special attack, it has an on-screen option where you can just disable the 3D for that attack.
Because you're tilting the device, therefore seeing the 3D might be a bit weird.
Yeah. So it's what's that? Is it just going to compensate for that on the 2DS and just not show that option, or is it still going to be there and just be weirdly pointless?
Well, if you have the slider off, which I think you did when you were showing me, surely that's sending the software command to be 2D.
Yeah.
And the option was still appearing?
I think so.
Yeah, so it would be doing that.
Yeah, but it's just that's just even weirder when it's on the 2DS. It's turn the 3D on. And surely it can't.
What would have been? Well, it sounds like they didn't think it. They thought it through, but not completely, I guess. Because in theory, if the software must know if it's running in 2D mode.
Yeah.
Because of those ones that used to frame rate up and stuff. When they're not dealing with it, and it's so it must know. So in theory, they should have perhaps programmed into that attack to recognise that we're in 2D mode. Therefore, I'm just going to skip over this.
Yeah, maybe.
And just assume this entire attack is going to be done in 2D stuff. Although if they were that worried about it, they should have just disabled 3D without asking you.
Yeah, but then that would have been confusing possibly, where you just you'd suddenly
what you mean,
not be able to see it, or you'd be what? It's suddenly gone weird, looks strange all of a sudden.
You could use a transition or something to do it, like a fade to white and fade back, and then it wouldn't be so bad. But
maybe.
I think it's neat that they thought about it, at least.
Yeah.
So, that thing is real. It's totally not a joke. Which I thought the internet originally thought when they saw it. It's that cannot be real.
I hope it has a stylus that goes in vertically, so it's a foot long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not drawing a sword at you.
Well, if it really is a kid's device, you want a giant crayon.
Yeah, exactly. It's got all that space.
Now with the precision of Crayola.
I think it just looks like... How are you even meant to hold that when the circle pad is just halfway up the side?
Yeah, you don't hold it at the bottom. You have to grasp it weirdly. Up. Yeah, unless it's not designed necessarily for holding, because it is sort of slanted.
You can't play it on a flat surface. That circle pad doesn't work unless you've got your thumb on it.
Bat it. Well, and where are the
L and R?
Yeah, where are the shoulder buttons?
Just on the back somewhere, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. A weird thing. Just get the XL, man.
Nintendo seems to be thrashing around a bit at the moment. I don't know.
Well, there's... In fairness, this doesn't harm them, because, if this comes out as...
It's fine, yeah.
And it finds a place... And it is cheaper.
And for children.
Than the existing 3DS
obvious
models.
Thing.
It's for the new Pokemon that's surely coming out soon.
The obvious thing
coming out exactly the same
for
time.
not ruining children's eyes.
Well,
it's like a legal mechanism.
But perhaps because it's a software thing, perhaps they could have just put that into the firmware of the 3DS to say.
I'm sure there is a parental mode or something.
Yeah, just disable 3D permanently. So even if you deal with the slider, it doesn't go into 3D mode.
But now they don't have to do that. Now you can just give this to the kids and they can't casually hack them. Casually navigate through the menus and find the options and just turn the fucker off.
But surely parental mode would be password locked or something.
Yeah, but you can find out passwords easy enough. You should guess.
You should have good passwords. You shouldn't have the film trope of saying, the password for this computer must be in this room and be really obvious. I see they have a... This is something we didn't know about them before. This guy likes baseball. Baseball. You're allowed in. Crock of shit.
Crock of shit.
That's actually a crock of shit at all. That's actually what happens all the time. It's just terrible.
Yeah,
people are bad.
I suppose maybe you're right, but it always happens at the most opportune moments, and it's always true in these things, isn't it? It's like they always get in. They don't just go, oh well, he's actually got a sensible password. Moving on.
Oh,
I guess there was those leaked security documents that The Guardian sort of published.
you see those this week? Yeah.
Yeah.
2 days ago? Unbelievable.
The NSA and GCH. Well, is it unbelievable? I mean, that's
Well-
pretty much what... we must have all known that they were doing this anyway.
I know, but it's like... It's
perhaps
just
some of the
so
wording
depressing.
they use is a bit funny. Like, they refer to anyone on the internet as an adversary.
They called, like, political masters. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
That was quite funny. It's going to cause problems for our political masters. It's fun. It's like...
such a weirdly worded thing, isn't it? It's like they consider themselves above everything.
They're pretty much... They're everywhere as well. That's what this new one proves. It's like the PRISM program is like, let's go into the big tech companies and install backdoors into excuse me, into Google and Facebook and Amazon and all these people. Okay, so the cost of that program is $20 million a year. Okay, and then the new program.
Yeah, this is that's on a whole different scale.
This new program is like all bull run, and it's like let's compromise all SSL security across the entire internet by putting backdoors at each end of every communication. $300 million a year.
There you go. I did wonder, right, if you were able to sniff in just the right way, like with SSL, I mean, it would be a really incredibly difficult task. But could you, like, somehow compromise if you compromise just the bits where the tokens are exchanged somehow, which is probably what they've done, then you can just decrypt anything that's sent over SSL during that session.
That's how they do it. Like, they're not using supercomputers to break the actual encryption. They're just subverting it completely by, like, compromising.
Oh, we have the key to get at that one.
Yeah, they just break into the actual. So the commercial security software is just compromised because they've put vulnerabilities into it.
In fairness, all they've done is basically make. Well, actually, now that we know that exists, we're in a real shit place. Like, for like, what that means, like, surely the hacking community is now looking for this.
They are, yeah,
real bad.
Yeah, there's all these things they can now exploit because they know they're there somewhere. There's all these
man, we could be in for a real dark time coming up.
Yeah, it's really horrid. I mean,
which actually makes Microsoft's turnaround to a non-digital platform somewhat sensible. This may work out after all.
Yeah, it's so terrible. I don't know. It's like, because cryptography and all that stuff, like RSA encryption and all that stuff, it works great as long as both ends are trusted.
Yeah.
But
if neither end is trusted.
Yeah, if you can't trust the other end because it's Gmail or whatever because they've been compromised, and you also can't trust your own computer because they've put a Trojan on it or whatever, or the browser that you're using.
Or there's something in Windows.
Yeah, or Windows. Yeah, so it doesn't matter that the connection is secure because both ends are bust.
It's such a shit, isn't it?
It's terrible.
They did theorize fairly recently, given their estimates about what they could potentially achieve with quantum computers, that if one was built that was, a reasonably usable thing, that RSA could just be broken.
Yeah, they could break RSA, but that's okay because by the time you've developed that, you've probably got quantum cryptography, which you can't break at all.
Well, unless everyone, it depends how that would end up working. If everyone has to have a quantum computer to generate something that secures your ends, then you may be in trouble.
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. I guess the NSA and ECHO will have big quantum computers before the rest of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean...
It's just like, well done for trying to make the world a better place by making it less secure for everyone.
Screwing
Fucking
everyone
idiots.
over. Yeah. It's terrible.
Doesn't help.
And it's so dumb because, like, it's obvious. Like, if you're Osama bin Laden, you don't use the internet, and he didn't.
Yeah,
and his entire network didn't use the internet.
That's all that's going to change, isn't it? Is that everyone's going to just do things by carrier pigeon.
But they've been doing it by couriers for the past 10... It's obvious. I mean, like... People ran spy networks before the internet, before the telephones even. You just, you just use dead drops and like, there's all kinds of techniques for running things in secret without having to use freaking...
Much better way of doing it,
exactly. Surely. It's so dumb.
Regardless of whether or not they could or couldn't get into that kind of stuff, surely that is just the best way to do it securely.
Exactly.
Is to use deliver something by hand, have it ciphered in some form, and then...
Yeah, I mean, you could...
Come on, Enigma worked well enough.
Exactly. Well, no, that was broken.
Yeah, eventually, but...
Yeah, they need to use, like, a one-time pad. That's the way you do to do it, or whatever.
You see, I saw a film the other day that perhaps had a. That's probably a little too close to the truth when you start thinking about it. But it was called The Number Station. It was a pretty, not a great, but not bad John Cusack film where they're working at a number station somewhere in Suffolk. And, and they're...
People work at number stations? I imagine they're just robots. They're just a computer.
Well, probably, but the idea was they'd get an instruction or something, and this one person would be the only person that would know this particular cipher and where in the cipher to be, and that kind of stuff to get it to work, and then that would form a one-time cipher that would be corresponding to a code book of an agent in the field that would tear off the page, write in that code, and of course it would all be kept in sync. Like a certain message would refer to a certain page, that kind of stuff, and it's like, that seems pretty sensible.
Yeah.
It's like, unless you get hold of the code book and know the cipher, there's quite a number of elements here you need to somehow be aware of to break this. Seems well enough. Except, of course, this is where the kind of the plot of that film kind of falls down, because these guys just sort of break in and then kind of harass people and harass the sort of the senders, the people who know the ciphers, to send some false messages out and stuff like that. And but then they wouldn't have known if they were sending the false messages. Surely they could have just written any old shit. And like, oh god, I've been compromised.
Yeah, that's all you need to write.
Yeah,
that's what you wait. Surely that's the obvious extension to that system. Is from every like spy tale ever is you always have a code where where it's just part of your regular transmission that you have to say in a certain way that tells the other end that you're compromised.
You're fucked. Yeah.
Just like an extra character somewhere, like enter the message with a full stop.
When you don't normally, yeah.
Or a lol. But lol, but not really.
Like a distress code thing.
Yeah.
You have to have one of them. It's important.
Kind of like what they use in TV, possibly in reality, where they're like hostages or whatever, and they're forced to say things in public, and then they include some kind of
hint,
weird code.
The sausage is in the factory.
I don't think it's quite as obvious.
Yeah.
Hello? Yes, we're all fine in there. There is no cheeseburgering at all. Cheeseburger? What's cheeseburger? Oh, God.
Cheeseburgering. Why did you say cheeseburgering?
It's an internet thing, you know. We're not being asked to do things like I can has cheeseburger. Do you not use the internet?
That's exactly what you would say if you're being threatened.
That would be my emergency.
Get out from that.
I mean, just claim it with some meme on the internet that your boss would know, or something that the guy you were talking to would know.
Internet meme. Anyway,
you guys are from around here, aren't you? Right, excellent. We can reference American culture like a bastard.
Well, that's the NSA.
Yeah.
Hooray for...
Not so fatal.
At least you can frickin' unplug your Kinect now. Thank God.
Well, yeah. Don't need that Kinect on. But although I would love it if someone figured out how to like just flood the NSA with all the Kinect traffic across the world and just have random people playing Dance Central. Like that's all they could see was just nothing but Dance Central.
I don't know.
Could you DDoS the NSA with something like that? Like that's probably that must be like Anonymous or LOLsec's next target. Surely is to try and just DDoS the security about like that must be the biggest fucking network perhaps to try and break.
You'd break the internet. Like
probably
they're everywhere in the system. So like you could flood the internet with more traffic than can handle. That must be possible.
Do it.
But is that possible though?
I don't know. Apart from, there must be a way. Like it's basically a giant set of plumbing, isn't it? Like, there must be a way to.
It's a series of tubes.
Yeah. You must be able to gum up the works.
There'll be some weak point in one server somewhere that's like where a lot of the routing occurs. I mean, I know they're designed to try and route around it, but you just have to pick a number of those in a certain spot on the network, and then you're potentially gumming up a whole section. Or just go scuba diving and cut the cable.
That sounds like fun.
I don't think that's very likely.
No, it's quite deep down.
Quite a fucking fat cable, I imagine.
You could probably do it if you had one of those Titanic exploring style submersibles.
With a nuke on board. Just nuke it.
Nuke it.
Just because.
Yeah, maybe. If you had like a baby nuke, no one would even notice that.
Be like, what?
Well, they'd notice when the internet did work.
Yeah. I can't talk to America. What's going on? Because that's internet. That's how I read all internet comments. It's in that voice. That's the voice of the internet to me. I can't see my cat videos.
What's going on?
There's no cat on a Roomba. I don't even know what a Roomba is anymore. It's an American product. What's America?
That would be a crazy terrorist attack. I wonder if they thought of doing that.
That must have been thought of a number of times.
Not under the sea, but you could attack where it comes out of the sea in Cornwall, which is probably not many people around. You could probably blow that up quite nice.
Yeah, they must have considered that. If not, we'll just give them ideas.
Woo.
Hey, NSA.
Well, this is going to be on the internet before long.
It's not even encrypted, bitch.
No. Exactly.
Stick that up your tailpipe.
We don't even have proper cookie policy. Because that page doesn't fucking exist.
Yeah, alright.
It's fine.
Just go to any other page that has cookies, it'll be the same. That's our policy.
Our policy is sod off European Union. That was the stupidest thing you've ever done.
We'll adhere to your laws somewhat.
Speaking of dumb...
Can we just have a cookie policy that just says, fuck you!
We'll do what we want, fuckers.
That's the official salad policy.
Official cookie policy. Or just a guy just shrugging his shoulders.
Like, what? Come on! That was the Cookie Monster.
Best cookie policy.
There must have been a bit of malware called the Cookie Monster at some point.
Probably.
You don't even need cookies to track people anyway.
You need the NSA.
You could do it with caching of images. Somebody proved the other day. Well, there's all kinds of weird ways.
I guess if you have access to the browser cache, then you could probably see the number of files. Depending on how the cache stores them, it probably stores them about where they came from.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
Video
games.
I'm not sure really about if there's any much news of interest. I suppose PS4 have been somewhat quiet of late. I think
that's true. They haven't really been ramping up. Let's go Gamescom.
Yeah,
that stuff.
They did go to Gamescom, but that was mostly indie stuff on show, wasn't it? Saying, "Hey, we're still doing this indie stuff."
You just don't have any killer apps, which is irritating. But neither does the Xbox One, to be honest. I guess Forza. But
yeah, for Forza was definitely the launch game most interesting. I saw that Crimson Dragon might actually be a launch title now.
All right.
So, because at one point I think they kind of said it wasn't. But it seems to have turned up on a number of launch lists. So maybe it will come out in time.
Looking more likely.
Boop boop. I had to find a sort of... I don't know if I should admit to this, really. I had a sort of dumb thought the other day where it's just like, oh God, I wonder what Dead or Alive is going to look like on next gen. How much more horrific can it get?
Oh God. I thought I saw there was some really misogynist thing, and I assumed it was Dead or Alive or something, but I think it was Metal Gear Solid.
Oh yeah, MGS5. Yeah. There's been a thing about how they supposedly sexed up the female characters in that.
Right.
Oh. Why I chose to make this lady have more boob.
Well, it's meant to be the 80s, so,
I guess.
It makes sense.
Is that allowed? It's not written in the 80s.
No, but it's like a fantasy 80s environment. It's everything was more ridiculous.
Shoulder pads. Every female soldier has to wear shoulder pads.
Female soldiers.
Shoulder soldiers.
Shoulder soldiers.
And carry around enormous mobile phones.
Yep. And they better get some of that in. You better have a ridiculous briefcase satellite phone or something.
and dance uncontrollably to Rick Astley.
I don't think they did that actually in the 80s. That's more of a 2000s phenomenon.
Duran?
I mean, the song was out, but nobody danced it. Yes. We know the Rick roll. That song's genius.
Yeah, I'm out of anything interesting.
When does that come out then? That's cross-platform, isn't it? Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, because I think they showed it originally at the first glimpse we got was at the first sort of
the Stealth Force thing.
Yeah, was at the Xbox conference.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Stealth Force.
So yeah, it is definitely going to be multi-platform. I don't think they've really said when. It's pretty sure it's not launched.
No, no kind of launch game.
No.
Okay.
So it's going to be some time into next year, I would wager. Like probably if an MGS launch lineup is anything like probably this time next year.
So is Killzone a launch game? I guess.
Yeah, Killzone's launch.
Okay, well that could be okay. It looked different enough to other Killzones. Well, not that Killzone 2 and 3 were bad or anything.
No, they're fine games. They're just not really. They don't stand out to me.
No.
And Killzone 2 had all those weird, like weighty feel problems that they supposedly fixed later on.
Yeah.
And, Killzone's a weird title, and apparently they really, really fucked with the like story elements and had like just generally unlikable characters.
Yeah.
Just filling the roster. I couldn't tell you anything that happened really in Killzone 2 or who the people are, or other than I think your character has a bit of a mohawk going on. That's pretty much all I know.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of cool. I keep telling myself I should probably go back and play Killzone 2 just to. Because I remember it being like a pretty impressive looking game.
Yeah.
When it came out.
That was meant to be, was it?
Yeah. So I wonder if it still stands up to that, but in the face of games like Uncharted and The Last of Us.
Fucking ridiculous that PS3 launch unveiling their pre-rendered video.
Oh yeah,
they claimed to us. You still can't get to that even on the new consoles.
Such bullshit.
Yeah.
Although they're getting pretty close.
Yeah, they're getting
close. The new Killzone footage is pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty
goddamn impressive.
Yeah. The city.
That's real.
When they're flying through the city. It's pretty amazing, and I think it is real.
That has to be said. I think that is one of the best graphical demos we've had of the new system.
I think it is. Yeah.
With the possible exception of the Quantic Dream stuff.
Yeah.
That was pretty damn sweet. If somewhat constrained in scope.
Yeah.
But yeah. I suppose Beyond comes out soon as well.
Yeah. I've been hearing sort of not the best
people
things
aren't
about
sure
it.
about it. Yeah. Well, I think people have the same problem with Heavy Rain, and that it's. And maybe I get the feeling that perhaps Beyond will be a little bit more acceptable now because we've had more of these not games over the last few years. If you know what I mean, things like Dear Esther and Proteus and things that just want to tell a narrative, which is kind of what Heavy Rain was really, just a narrative of QuickTime events. So I wonder if it will probably be more accepted. I do hear a lot of places just keep referring to it as the Ellen Page simulator. But
awesome.
It's probably no bad thing. I think we should start with news before we start keep padding shit we don't really know about.
No, absolutely. Go ahead. What have you been playing, Rob?
Alrighty. So I've had a somewhat weird couple of weeks because I think it was it last time on the cast I was telling you about my computer's overheating problems.
Yeah.
And so I sort of wasn't happy with it soon after that. I noticed that although the idle temperature had improved after I reseated everything, the load temperature was still really high. So at the end of last week, Zach and I did a Final Fantasy video, and I was trying to get the encoding done at the start of this week, and that's probably one of the hardest things you can ask your CPU to do because it just maxes out. And that temperature was getting very close to 100. And it's like, that is way too high. It's like over 80 is dangerous. Like over 90 is, you need to be papping yourself. And like near 100 is just like, fucking what? So I got really sort of paranoid at that point and was like, oh God. I couldn't work it out. The cooler seemed fairly well seated as far as I could tell. I gave it a bit of a, just to make sure everything was nice and tight, gave it a poke, turned it all back on again, same effect, no real improvement. So I ordered this ridiculous motherfucking cooler.
Yeah?
I got it's called the Akasa Nero,
right?
The 3rd edition that would fit my chipset. It's enormous.
Yeah.
It's like it barely fits in the case.
Yeah.
In fact, technically, it doesn't fit in the case because, like, if I was to put the door of my case on in the right way, the case fan would just hits the thing. Fortunately, that was like I don't do that anymore because of that stupid problem we talked about a few weeks ago. I now rotate my door so the case fan points at the GPU to stop that from overheating.
Oh right. Okay.
So I'm in a super ridiculous space right now, but this thing is pretty cool. It was quite. It required quite a ridiculous sort of build to get it to go in. I had to take the entire machine apart. So hard drives had to come out to make way for me to unplug something so I could get the motherboard out of the case so I could put a back plate on the back of it in order to mount the cooler so it could hold itself securely to the motherboard.
Right.
Because it's so freaking enormous. It is just a massive heatsink with like 4 U-shaped heat pipes leading into it. So it's... And a big 120mm fan that sort of hangs off the side on rubber things, so it's not really connected, and it's got like a wobble room and stuff like that. So in theory, doesn't even like nudge the sink from moving at all, and supposedly makes less noise because of it and that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty cool thing, and it sort of has worked, but not perhaps as well as I was expecting. Because I saw reviews and stuff which might have been using a later i7 processor, which got a little bit cooler in the last few generations, where they managed to get a whole 30 degrees better than the stock cooler using this thing, and that was pretty much what sold me on it. And it's just like, okay, that seems exactly what I need. In reality, I get more to a sort of 10 to 20 depending on the circumstance, so my idle temp is actually pretty close to what it is normally, which is about 40 to 50. But my operating temp is now sort of down to 70-ish, which is at least in the safe zone.
That idle temp seems really high.
It does. It is high. But first gen i7s are crap, basically.
Is that it? Okay.
First gen i7s generate a lot of heat. Like they're pretty shit processors for that.
I finally got around to actually installing Core Temp so I could have my desktop widget actually show the temperatures.
So it's really
apparently my one idle's at like not even 30.
But that's more sensible. That's what that's kind of where things should be. But you've got a gen or two after me. In terms of the processor, and they did get a lot better pretty quickly.
Can you see what mine's idling at?
Not from here.
Okay, fair enough.
My eyes are not that good. Do you have Core Temp running? Or?
Yeah. It's on that top left thing.
Yeah, so anyway, under extreme load, I now get it down to 70, which I'm kind of happy with, because it is better. And it is kind of a testament to how good that cooler is, I suppose, that I'm getting nearly 30 degrees improvement.
Or maybe nothing changed and it was...
maybe nothing changed and I just fitted it properly this time. I don't know.
But, it was just a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's everyone's favourite computer problems.
Yeah. So that kind of put me out of using my PC for about a week.
Okay.
Most of this week. But for the first week, I did manage to get a shit ton more Awesomenauts in.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, god damn, I love that game. It's so... just what It's got that draw that I haven't had for a while. It's just like, what should I do now? Play around with Awesomenauts? All right. It's pretty cool. And Kippers has been playing it as well in his normal ragey fashion.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat embarrassing at times. It's a good thing that game doesn't have like all talk or anything or voice support inbuilt. And it's just like it's kind of worse almost because it means he's having to put this shit in text. Involved effort to rant. So there's that. I'm loving it. They added a new character called Admiral Swiggins, who is he's kind of cool. He's like a British octopus pirate.
Okay.
It's like, I don't really like using him. He's one of the more difficult to use characters, but he's a bastard to fight against someone who's good at it. And it's he has a lot of a lot of his speech is kind of random pirate things intermingled with British cliche, yo ho ho and a cup of tea.
Okay.
It's just in the middle of a fight, or be like, oh, terribly sorry. It's just kind of weird, but it's kind of cool. He's neat. I find it weird that they still decided to add him as a character when they're trying to fund the expansion pack, which adds 3 more noughts to the game and a level or 2. So it's like, okay, why do I want to fund your Kickstarter if you're just adding shit to the game for free? Unless it was always planned that he was going to be there or something, and they're just fulfilling their early promises. I don't know. That was a bit weird.
They could be stretch goals or something, I guess.
Maybe, but but as I say, they've released this character before the Kickstarter even finished.
Right. Okay.
So it's like the game has a big hey, we're on Kickstarter button that will take you to the page and that kind of stuff. So it's I thought it was a little weird. And they added Isla not that long ago, so weird. Who cares? I got some stuff for free. So I also started on Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Long last.
It's actually I'm enjoying it quite a lot. It's pretty good.
Kart racing.
Yeah, it's the kind of influence of some of the
bizarre stuff.
Some of the bizarre stuff is kind of obvious in places because they have simplified the power up system. So there's it feels like there's less of it than there was in the previous game, which there wasn't much there to begin with, to be honest. But it feels like there's less of it now, and it's a little bit more. What the power ups do is a bit more sensible, I suppose.
More blur-like then.
Yeah, kind of. You get your classic dumb fire thing, which they call the ice bullets. And then you've got... I'm not quite sure where some of the Sega references to these things come in, but never mind. The blowfish is your leave on the middle of the track kind of banana-style weapon. There's what they call the drone, which goes into the red shell effect, which is kind of neat because in a way, when you fire it, you can actually see its targeting cursor, so you can see who the drone is heading for. So if it skips the guy in front of you, you kind of go, oh, he's going for that guy over there, which is kind of neat. The blue shell equivalent is basically straight out of Blur. It's like the Blur one is the shock towers.
Mm-hmm.
They create these zones that you have to avoid. Otherwise, but in this they just have a swarm of bees. So it's like they create giant bees on the track, and just try and avoid them if you're in front.
Awesome.
But yeah, it plays pretty well. They've changed the physics of the kart handling, so it's a little more realistic, a little less sort of a little less tight, I suppose, but a little more real because of it. I don't know, there was something about the original one where it's just you move left, you're just going to move left in an instant, not really a momentum-y sort of feel to it.
No real weight to stuff.
Yeah, even if you're drifting, it doesn't really feel necessarily like you're travelling at the speed you should be, and that kind of stuff. So that's been improved, and the boat stuff is really momentum-y. So when you're in the boat, you're sort of bouncing off waves and stuff, and if you catch it at the wrong angle, you might be airborne for a while, travelling in the wrong direction,
right.
That kind of stuff. The boats are kind of fun, actually. I kind of wish they'd perhaps put a little more work into the boats than they had, because the sections of track you're on when you're in a boat are normally quite simple.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? They don't really test you, I suppose, in the boats that much. They just use it as a way to vary up the tracks, but they're probably one of the better elements of how things handle, because the planes are cool as well, but they're just planes, Just point in the direction you want to go and it will go there.
Yeah.
Which makes the combat, and they tend not to really have much in the way of course design necessarily in the air some of the time, and just
a free area.
Yeah, but then try and sort of make you a little bit combat focused. So they'll put plenty of power ups about, because then if you're using stuff like the ice shot and thing, it becomes difficult to hit people because they haven't got any surface. So you have to sort of aim it a bit more, and there's a little bit of auto aim to help you out there, but it's kind of neat because they have a whole level basically based on that mechanic, based around Afterburner, where there's just two aircraft carriers, and you do a bit of driving along one, take to the air, shoot some guys down, do a U-turn, a little bit in the water, take to the air, shoot some more guys down, do a U-turn, and that's the track.
Right, that's the whole thing.
So it's all about air combat, which is kind of neat.
That's kind of fun.
It's some of the track design is a bit...
Is that based on the Sonic Adventure 2 crazy aircraft carrier stuff?
No, that's actually Afterburner that they've gone for.
I see.
So it looks a bit more like the look from Afterburner Climax,
right? Yeah,
the more recent one than the original one. Naturally, I suppose, but yes, they've gone for that. Some of the track designs are kind of cool. Some are a lot better than others. I think in some places they've been a little conservative because they introduced this idea that's kind of cool, where the tracks will change as the race is going on. It's a pre-scripted way, so it's the same each race, but each lap is going to be slightly different. So the Panzer Dragoon course is kind of cool because, at one point during the level, a bit of the track gets destroyed by a dragon, and you're then forced to take a boat route.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time you come around, a different part of a walkway you drove across has been destroyed, so you take to the air and then go around the entire the lap as an air lap, and it's So that's kind of neat. It kind of makes those like 3 times 1 minute, which is 3 times 1 minute lap races feel more like a solid 3-minute race. And it does work, but they don't use it all the time. Like, not every track does it from it. On some tracks that do it very subtly. Like, there'll be one detail about the track that's slightly different. Like, the Billy Hatcher level, for instance, I think is one of the more boring ones. Something's just fallen off the ceiling, and it's created an icicle that's falling off the ceiling. It's created a ramp onto a different route that's only available on the last lap. It'd be something simple like that, or something not very interesting. Which is a shame, because they should do more of it. Like, the monkey ball level, the only thing it does is, like, at one segment you're going downhill and there's a ton of obstacles in the way, and the obstacle layout changes each lap.
Right.
So it's... they probably could have done more of it. It's really cool when they do it. Probably. The Skies of Arcadia level is a fantastic example of it, because the first 2 laps are pretty much the same, but on the last lap, it gets bombed to fuck, so there's not really much floor left.
Oh no!
So the entire last lap it becomes a flying level amongst like all the destructing like bits of scenery that are in a different location because they've been blown up, and that's pretty cool. It's like that game really shines when they're being creative with it like that. And it's, so I'm really enjoying it. It's like the PC version has some interesting character additions that they've put in since it came out that I don't think are on the consoles.
Right.
Like, so when it launched, they had Wreck-It Ralph randomly, and the guy they've got to mimic his voice is pretty bad.
Oh no!
Doesn't really sound like the guy. Not very closely. But they also had Team Fortress, so there's a Team Fortress car in there.
Okay,
it's kind of cool.
What kind is it? What does it look like?
It looks a bit like a hot rod.
Right.
And it's when the pyro drives it on land, and when it takes to the air, it becomes a sort of like just a little prop plane, like with really short, stubby wings, and the spy flies it.
Okay.
And I think the heavy takes control when it's a boat, and it's a bit more like one of those swamp hovercrafts. When it's in the scene, that's pretty cool. And they do a little cool when they go into All Star, you get the Team Fortress theme, but it's got a bit of a funky beat behind it.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool. They've done a good job with that. But some of the other characters they've added are just weird because they've been pulling them in from their other Sega franchises that they have. So you have Football Manager, which is a little strange.
Shogun or something, Total War.
Yeah, there's a Shogun character as well, which is a bit of a non-starter really, because it doesn't really have a proper transformation like animation. They just sort of like mask it in like a Shogun symbol or something, and then when it goes away, it's like your cars like they cheated a little bit.
It's probably really hard to come up with those animations.
But they've also got a Russian general from a Company of Heroes.
Company of Heroes too?
Yeah,
okay.
Because naturally Sega own that, so they can just chuck that in there. Which is kind of weird, because when in the middle of the game, like the All-Star activates, and all of a sudden this just very Russian music starts playing, like... It's just really strange.
It's really bizarre.
But they also have General Willimus from Rome 2.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Which is even weirder.
That is even weirder. Some
of the speech they have for those characters is pretty funny. Because they've just sort of made shit up. It's... it's just really weird additions that they've put in, but are kind of funny nonetheless. Along with your traditional, like, pretty much the same roster they had before, so most of the Sonic guys, Ooh La La, and Crazy Taxi Man, Billy Joe, and some Jet Set Radio stuff.
Jet Set Radio.
Oh, Alex Kidd's back as well. But, yeah, it's an alright game. I did suffer for some technical issues getting it started, so like Cinemora, top tip, don't run your monitor in 120 Hz mode, the game does not like it.
Okay. For all those people who have 120 Hz monitors.
Yeah. The game does not like it. You have to put it back in 60 to get a smooth frame rate out of it, which is a shame. Recommend. And it's often on deal. So,
yes, get it when it's cheap.
Yeah.
On the Steam's excellent. Hey.
Yeah, having fun with that.
Speaking of Rome 2, I heard that hasn't got the best reviews going on.
I've heard a lot of middling.
A
bit buggy. They've been quite ambitious with some of it. Like, their animation model is now no longer like crowd-based. Mm-hmm. So they have like everyone is being animated individually.
Right.
Rather than So it's having to work it out, doing a lot more calculations to figure out everyone's actions. It looks very brown to me. It looks like that game has just has been through the next gen filter.
Possibly, yeah.
It doesn't look as vibrant or as clear as it perhaps has done in other iterations. I don't really know much about the meta game. The only stuff I've seen has been of
the battles.
So can't really judge. I don't really understand those games that well anyway. I remember playing not from a why they're good kind of point. I just don't understand kind of how they play.
Yeah.
I did try and play the original Shogun at one point, but was just terrible at it. So
I'm pretty shit. I end up in a big bundle mess.
Well,
no matter how hard I work to try and do some ingenious pincer movement or something, it always ends up
something goes wrong.
That was just what I immediately found about that Shogun 2 demo when I tried it before you even had it. Yeah, where it was just it gives you that option to have overarching formations where it just automatically lays your guys out, but that's totally useless because you can never maintain proper formations.
They won't stick to stuff.
I always found that if I came up with a plan, by the time I'd got around to executing it, the timing just didn't work anymore. Things just hadn't panned out the way I'd planned, and so these guys are totally in the wrong place now. Shit. Yeah. I'm just not very good at those. I kind of appreciate that they sort of go for the level of historical accuracy they try and gun for in those games is supposedly somewhat where they go for. I've heard that perhaps that's a little bit questionable this time round. Maybe some of the stuff they start to claim isn't quite right for some reason. I don't know.
I used to always, because there's cavalry, it was hey, cavalry, when they charge, they do loads of damage when they smash into people and stuff. So I'd be charge, even if it's miles, charge, smash into them, and it would work to some extent, and then they were kind of stuck in the middle, and then I'd say, right, retreat, and then come back, and then charge again, and retreat, because I thought, maybe that will give me the benefit over and over again, but it was just really dumb.
Do they not run out of stamina or something?
Yeah, they do, but I don't know. It's just everything ends up in a quagmire whenever I do any of that. Anyway.
Yeah. Never quite snuck up on people. It's oh hey, all these pikemen are facing the wrong direction. Yeah. Let's get them. Yeah. They all just turn around by the time I get there. And it's oh well, fuck that then.
Yeah.
I think the original Shogun had incendiary pigs. Sounded much cooler.
That was in Rome first.
Oh, was it in
the
Rome,
original Rome had incendiary pigs.
Oh, maybe Rome was the one I played then.
Probably. I had that.
Yeah.
So that was quite good, though. I like the campaign mode on that, the map on that. But that was fairly polished. I hear that the new one isn't, compared to Shogun 2, it's okay, they've been ambitious, but they've lost the polish or whatever.
Too much tech, not enough of the soul?
Possibly, yeah. It's lost it. It's a bit buggy in places. Yeah, so that's a bit of a shame. Because it kind of could have been the pinnacle of that whole series, given that everyone loved the original Rome.
Yeah.
And that they've done so many developments since then. It's just the same. It's the damn game, isn't it?
Well, what else can you... It is a difficult series to carry on unless you start finding new periods of time, new styles of warfare to try and tackle.
It's hard
how to keep it interesting. It's
you could
the gap perhaps between Shogun 1 and Shogun 2 was a bit more acceptable, perhaps, than Rome to Rome 2.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the game had changed so much since then. Cause when Shogun 1, there's none of them were 3D models, were they, on the battlefield? It was all sprites.
That's a long time ago, though.
Yeah. And they updated the meta game, so there was a lot more in it. So for those that are interested in Japanese history, then that seemed like a sensible move. But
yeah, that was cool.
The jump from Rome 1 to Rome 2 doesn't seem as pronounced.
Still 10 years or something.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It will still be a big jump, but perhaps it loses something. I don't know. Perhaps the jump. I don't know. It's just an outsider view. Mm-hmm. So
anyway.
Yeah. So there's one other thing I played. This was during because I didn't really. It was kind of convenient when my system was down, actually, because I was kind of busy a lot of the evenings of that week. So there was system is down, indeed. But I did play Journey. Like, so the indie darling of last year, I finally played.
Yeah, the PS3 game.
It's pretty good. It's pretty damn great, actually. Bit shorter than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
I managed to clear it in 2 hours.
Wow. Okay.
But then again, I'm not sure that was. I think that's a sensible length for that game because they don't really do that much mechanically. But I mean, they have an idea and they kind of stick with it thematically,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like the floatiness and the sort of flying and the relying on the scarf to stay afloat, and it's and that stuff all works. They just don't really necessarily expand on it too much towards the end of the game. It's more about just being in the world and making sense of the wordless narrative, which is kind of told to you through ancient glyphs and kind of stuff. That you'll see like these old paintings, kind of tribal style, of what happened to the civilization before, and so it somewhat explains the life of the guys in the red cloaks. And not completely. It doesn't make total sense, if I'm honest. There are some bits where it's just like, but then how does wait, what? But maybe that's the point, you know. Or perhaps you're not supposed to get too tied up in that stuff. I don't know. As just a world to go through, it is a wonderful thing. As we said, it's a lovely world. It's rendered beautifully. It's the glistening sand, whilst not necessarily realistic, is really nice to look at and a nice thing to trudge through. Weirdly, It's like you're sort of light-footed, so it doesn't take. You can climb up dunes, not too difficult, but the animation does change to make it look like you're climbing properly. And then if there's any kind of downward slope, you just kind of glide down it. There were some places like where I felt like, because there were a couple of sections that you may have seen from like the trailers and stuff where you're like gliding downhill on the sand for a while and stuff like that. And there was a confusing mechanical shift that happened for me at that point where, most of the time when you're in a downwards glide, I could just stop and start walking back up the dune. Mm-hmm. In these sections, you're kind of like on rails a little bit. You can't turn around, but you could sort of try, and then the game resists. So it's like, you don't really want to be doing this. Come on, go down the hill. And it's like, but there's something I missed. I saw it. And it's like, I want to go investigate it. And it's sort of then mechanically kind of forces you not to, which I thought was a bit of a shame. Mm-hmm. It's like it kind of felt a little out of place for the rest of the game. That for this exploration and freedom-y sort of feel, to suddenly take that away when I wasn't expecting it was just like, it's perhaps a little. Perhaps they could have handled that a touch better.
Yeah.
Or at least made it so I couldn't like stop on the downward slope and try and turn round, and at the point of turning round, it go no, you're going down the hill, whether you like it or not. It just restrict me in some way that made it so I couldn't try. Perhaps that would have helped, but yeah, it's a pretty great thing. The music is incredible. As I say, the visual is good. I should talk about the companion thing because that's kind of clever. So during the course of my journey, I had about 7 or 8 companions.
Other people
flit in and out of my game every now and then. I think most of them were kind of pros that they'd done it before, and so kind of knew the mechanics. And that was kind of interesting because there was one guy that I spent the majority of the story with, because it kind of knows to stick with you. Like if you're carrying through levels at the same time, the same guy will be with you throughout the bit. So he was like pointing out, there's a thing over here. But of course you can't say that. You have to. The game has no voice support on purpose. So they have to go to this place and sort of like use the little chirp command to sort of say, hey, look at this. And it's kind of cool because then you go, oh yeah, there's something over here I should go pay attention to. I don't know, it definitely adds something. I was a bit skeptical about it at first because my first few encounters were some dude, just some guy in the level doing their own thing and going about, and it's like, well, okay, that doesn't really add to anything. It's just makes me wonder, why is there another guy here? Why has he opened stuff out? And it does have a potential to perhaps for you to lose something yourself if you're unlucky.
Okay.
Like,
how does that happen?
In the sense that they could activate a part of the level, and if you're not there, sometimes you might miss one of the camera angles, or like the world would change, but you might miss the angle to explain what's going on, or doesn't always stay focused like that. And if you were going if you really want to play this game for the trophies, there could be an occasion where your teammate would mean that, or your teammate, your companion could cause something to mean that you wouldn't get that trophy because they've done the series of events that the trophy is about in a different way.
I see.
But you could just go offline, I guess, if you were really, really wanted to go for that. Okay, the inclusion of trophies is a little baffling, to be honest, because it's not one of those games that really... It's not about them. I mean, yeah, it could force you to go and explore the game in a different way, maybe, if you ran through it again, but it seems like a weird thing to add. It's like adding a fetch quest to Dear Esther or something.
Okay.
It's like...
That wouldn't... Yeah.
Well, there is one for finding all of the mysterious runes in the game, which is basically that. They make your scarf longer and let you float for longer, so there is a kind of mechanical point to it, but there is an achievement for finding them all. You don't have to do it in one run. Okay. You just have to have found all of them.
At some point. Yeah.
And it's like, well, really, but yeah, okay, yes, your game is about exploration, but it's kind of the not knowing is as powerful as the knowing in that game. And it's... I just don't think they need to be there. Like, and that one during the gliding sections, like during the slidings, they're like, oh, make sure you go through enough of the archways. Like, why? You didn't make that mechanically obvious that I needed to, so you just put that in just for a trophy. Mm. And the game, and again, because of the structure of the game, they haven't compromised on, like, making a menu, essentially, that you could just, like, use to chapter select. When you say chapter select, it takes you to a part of the level, and there are places there that then could warp you to the various chapters if you wanted to go back and play it later. Mm-hmm. But it's not the most convenient. You can't just jump into the level and then go, oh, I fucked that up, retry, like, I want to go for the trophy, just retry. It's like, it's not for that, and the game is not designed for that. It's, yeah. But, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've got to be said, that was a good 2 hours.
Great.
It's like probably a bit expensive for a 2-hour experience, if I'm honest, but it's a high quality experience. Mm. I guess it would appeal to the types that perhaps have a thing for sort of... I suppose if you want high quality art, I guess, you do pay a bit more to see it, I suppose. Like, go to like the best galleries. Or
if you go to the theatre, it costs a lot more than a cinema, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Same amount of time.
It does strike that vibe with me. That, perhaps it's not for everyone because of that reason.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I think because of those reasons, perhaps I wouldn't have rated it as highly maybe as some of the Game of the Year stuff did at the end of last year.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Perhaps the gamer in me is still asking for a little bit more from it. Like, I could sort of understand why Walking Dead was up there because there's a bit... you're getting some longevity out of the time it took to get through that thing. You're getting some involvement with, the choices you made. Perhaps it would have had a bit more impact on that world. There's a bit more of a game to The Walking Dead, even though it's a narrative-focused thing.
Yeah.
I can't quite justify the sort of... I forget what the cost was of it when it came out. Like Journey, it was like perhaps nearly £15, something like that. It's since dropped to 10. Mm-hmm. I don't know, that feels steep. It is really good, but it's just... Yeah, I can't bring myself to think that's 5 times the Rob Pound per hour.
It is. That doesn't quite meet your particular standard. Yeah, I understand there. Makes sense.
But yeah, cool thing. Cool thing.
It's good that you've played that before the end of the generation.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm glad I did. It did push us a lot of similar buttons to what Dear Esther did for me. It sort of makes you think a little bit.
I kind of want to play that.
Different way.
What's that new one? Gone Home or whatever.
Oh yeah, that would probably push the same Dear Esther buttons.
Yeah,
I think. Perhaps because that one's perhaps a little more involved by the looks of it. Than, because the narrative doesn't just happen.
No,
you have to investigate it yourself and fight and put the pieces together as you want. And again, that's a bit polarizing, that, from what I've read. Like, some people really love that approach.
Yep.
To figuring out the story by yourself, and other people are just like, this isn't a fucking game!
Yeah.
It's like, I wasted my money on this! Like, there's been people saying that.
Whatever.
I'm not sure if they knew what they were getting into, maybe.
Apparently not. Cool.
Journey!
Okay.
And it's been like 2 weeks. Sorry, I've taken up more time than I expected for that.
That's no problem. I've got much to contribute this week. Again, I'm looking forward very much to Grand Theft Auto to the point where I realised that I have so much holiday for my notice period because I've quit my job that I might be able to go have 2 weeks plus a couple of days or something. But the point was that when we worked out my final day, it was like the day after Grand Theft Auto comes out. I'm like, oh, time for a Grand Theft Auto holiday.
That wasn't planned at all.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much just going to play Grand Theft Auto for like 2 weeks, I think. So that's going to be awesome. Yeah, there's been new screenshots and there's a launch trailer and stuff. But I
did consider perhaps like now taking a day or two around the Xbox One launch.
Yeah.
To, soak it in.
Yeah.
I've got loads of holiday. But...
Yeah, you should take some just so you don't burn out. But yeah, could do. But yeah, so
I don't know if that's bad or not. Is it bad really to do that? Like, I'm gonna take holiday to play a game.
No, it's a cheap holiday, isn't it? It's like it's a lot. Of,
yeah,
it's a lot of responsibility. A lot of people like. I mean, it depends on your priorities and stuff. But I find that like you have this holiday that you're allocated or whatever. A lot of people they'll take 2 weeks in a big block in August, and they'll go fucking other side of the world or something, and they'll half kill themselves walking around a city and stuff, which is awesome experience and stuff. But then you've used up all your holiday, and you're more tired than when you started. Yeah. It's like if you can take a couple of days and like sit and play a video game, that's a really good like.
The last long weekend
recharge
was kind of that for me because I had nothing on during it. No one was away for it, and I did nothing.
Yeah,
and it was pretty nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good to do nothing sometimes. Yeah. I mean, of course, Zach's the expert, but
no comment.
Does that every day, but yeah, I'd rather have a Zach style lays than a crazy. You want to do both though, really.
Yeah, you want to. I suppose if you take like 2 weeks of holiday, perhaps like.
1 day of late, 1 week of lays, and 1 week of
1 week
of
on, yeah, and make that if you can make that week somewhere in the middle of it, so you've got like a buffer zone either side,
either end. Yeah, that might be good because probably most people when they go on holiday they leave on a weekend and arrive back on a weekend, so you might work out well in terms of the travelling if you travel in the midweek and then have a few days of man.
Yeah, exactly. I think you might need that.
Yeah, I think that could be a good plan, but. Can't afford to go abroad right now, so it's going to have to be sitting playing games. Although I am going to Paris next week, so that counts. It's only a long weekend.
Fun. You got a plan for that? You got a hit list of things to do?
Not really. We've been a few times before, so we're probably going to do years ago. So we'll probably do some of those old itinerary things, but I haven't really been thinking about it because I've been a bit worried about changing my whole life. So I need to do a bit of thinking about where we ought to go and see. Yeah, be nice anyway. A nice hotel and chocolat chaud and
chocolat chaud.
Bit of the old Musée d'Orsay gallery, etc.
Musée d'Orsay.
And various other places. So
Le Louvre.
Yeah, well, our tradition is
Tour Eiffel.
Our tradition is not to go in the Louvre or up the Tour Eiffel.
The Catacombs.
Or to the Catacombs. Yeah.
Well, but you got to do them once, surely.
I guess, yeah, you'd think so. Yeah.
I thought Catacombs was kind of cool.
I bet it is kind of cool. It's quite far from the centre.
Basement of skulls.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like your mug you got from the Catacombs.
Yeah, it's a cool mug.
Yeah.
I love skulls.
I would like that. She's big into skulls. Yeah, anyway. So, yes.
Cool imagery.
GTA, and I've been reading interviews and stuff with the guy that spent the last 5 years doing all the art and stuff, in command of all the giant army of artists.
So you're in danger of being too into it before it comes out.
Possibly. There was one guy going on about. Apparently, they had one lighting graphics specialist who's done nothing but work on like the perfect Californian sunshine for like 5 years, trying to get the exact right shade of the. It comes across really well in all the screenshots.
True.
Like the skies in Red Dead were really good, and the sunsets and things. So if they put that same or even more kind of effort into this, that'll pay off. So,
it is true. There's a certain thing. That's probably where things have got a lot better, I think, over the course of this generation. Is that the style of lighting that people are using now? It definitely fits the regions they're trying to mimic.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite closely now.
And they also said they've got some sort of super optimized lighting system that they worked out a way to process cheaply on the current hardware. Where, like, if you look and you see streets in a distance, all the lights along the streets and stuff are the real lights, so you can make the shape of the roads are what they will be when you actually get over there, for example. Do you see what I mean? So because it's difficult to have many light sources in a world, because
so they just make something that represents what the lighting would be at that time of day, I guess. And they're just like an object. It's not really actual lighting. They're just using an object replacement to say, it's going to be like this at this time, so we can render something much simpler.
No, I think they're saying they used to do that, but now they've managed to work out how to get the actual lights to remain for a long distance rather than approximate it. So they said they would have had to. Okay, you can't put that many lights in a world because there's just too expensive.
Well, lighting is expensive.
So you have to. You would just say after this distance, you have a light or something to represent the whole village or whatever. But apparently they've got some cool new technique to allow them to maintain lots of individual light sources at a very long distance.
Did they just render it on a big machine first and then take what that looks like and then say, well, we'll use that as what it should be?
Maybe.
From afar?
You'd have to do it from every angle, wouldn't you? But yeah, possibly. There's probably a load of lookup tables and stuff for that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, they've got some awesome new tech in terms of optimizations. So
intriguing.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how that works.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it was interesting to read. It's pretty cool stuff. And yeah, I think it's going to be pretty awesome, considering the age of the hardware and stuff. I think
Just
it probably
stay away from the internet though, because of the leak.
Yeah, the leak. But there's story stuff. I mean, I'm not going to run into that. No one's going to spoil that. They're going to get a kick up the arse if they do.
I don't know. I'm waiting for the Harry Potter Snake kills Dumbledore moment. When someone just shouts some major plot twist. Yeah.
The internet were amazingly good with Bioshock Infinite spoilers.
Actually, somewhat surprised.
Yeah, they had there was a campaign on our gaming and stuff. Like, if you spoil this for me, you will be murdered in your sleep, sort of thing.
So extreme.
Yeah, but not quite like that. But they went to great lengths to talk about it loads, but not spoil anything, which was really cool.
I don't think anyone really has, have they? Even now, they still haven't really.
Yeah, it wasn't like you played it way late compared to me, and you didn't know.
Yeah, they've still been good about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless you specifically go hunting for a forum about
it,
then you're all right.
Yeah, exactly. So, although it's not like a one-word spoiler like "Luke, I am your father" or "I see dead people."
I guess not. I guess it is a little harder to convey.
Yeah. I suppose you could just say
kind of contextual.
X is Y, or couldn't you?
Maybe. I suppose there is one moment like that. Yeah.
An identity style thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yes. So.
And I suppose the DLC stuff says, well, Elizabeth's not dead, so there you go.
Well, yeah.
We know that much.
Yeah. Don't know what's going on there. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird one to explain. Unless they just don't and just go, oh, this is just some other shit we just wanted to put together because it sounded cool.
Yeah. So yeah, Zeg, I guess you've got quite a few. Sounds like you've bought an RPG of some kind.
Yeah, I guess.
What else is going on?
Well, also, before there was actual... Well, not really before. During the time when there's been actual games, I also continued to randomly poke a little bit more of that Games Maker.
Oh yeah, the one that's like kind of the same as the Games Factory.
Yeah, because
at least in the event system. Does it have a grid like?
No, it's like the events are attached to the objects.
Ah, so it's all like, on the level editor.
Yeah, pretty much.
That sounds quite hard to use.
Yeah, that could be kind of awkward to...
Well,
you'd have to have a big mental map of how that thing works, really. It doesn't sound very discoverable.
Well, sort of. But it's because, that was one of the things that the first thing is that as I went through more of the tutorials, you discover, it's got the Games Factory events, basically.
Yeah.
And it's got, actual code And then you can like use any amount of either, like you can just mash them together in whatever proportions you want. So it's like if you want to set a variable, you can just use the gauge factory vendor to like set a variable, or you can just write a single line of code where it's like var equals whatever. So it's like you can do it whichever way you want, just like using either code or gauge factory or a combination of both.
But when you use the Games Factory style, can you then read the code that's generated and change it? You see what I mean?
Probably, because it's like
yeah.
if you assign like that setting a variable, you say what variable has a name. So presumably, if you went into code, you could reference it by that same name. And then it also has like if you want to change it from working on like normal Games Factory movement or whatever, you can toggle it into actual physics, where it's like now we're working with actual physics, and you have set like momentum and mass and stuff.
Oh, cool!
And like how many pixels per meter because it simulates it to like real world scale or whatever.
Huh, interesting.
But then that's like kind of awkward in itself because you have to use like an entirely different set of commands because you're not just like. It's not like Games Factory where it's like set speed and whatever. Now you have to be like set momentum using a different physics operation.
You presumably have to set it in vectors or something.
Yeah.
Well, the guy that made, Tom Francis, what's the game called? Gunpoint. He said that the collision detection was really hard to do, and that he'd like asked a bunch of programmers how do you do collision detection.
Because it's like it's built in.
That's what I'm surprised about.
That's the whole point of that thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, they always had overlapping collision detection, isn't it? It was very basic. If the active zone of this sprite overlaps the active zone of this sprite, then that counts as a collision.
Well, it has like collision masks, and then you can set it to be precise or non-precise. And then if you're in a physics world, you basically draw a shape that surrounds the object.
Because I was thinking, you had to make masks using a separate object in Games Factory, didn't you? You had to create a hidden object that perhaps had the collision mask that was your active collision zone. Yeah. A bit like a hitbox. And then, the fact that by the sounds of it, they've got that as an included idea on an object.
Pretty much. So but it's just like that's sort of the whole point of, because this is why I might actually get on with a games making thing like this, and why Games Factory, we did Games Factory at the time, is because it's like I'm fine with code in theory, and it's like I can do maths and I understand logic, but I don't.
That's all you need.
But I'm not good at like building shit from the ground up. I need a framework, which is like what this basically provides. It's like it's got collision detection and how you can put objects in a room, and it's just like
I sort of know what you mean, because the game loop is kind of a daunting prospect to me. Like, and I'm very used to my event or things run as fast as they can style programming. I don't really have to worry about a loop in the majority of what I do. Yeah. And it's like, keeping the constant timing and the constant physics and the knowing how there's a limit to what you can do each frame kind of thinking is a kind of a different approach. Yeah. And it's like, building the framework to be able to deal with that is the core of a game. Yeah.
But now that's what this basically does for you, and you can. It's like you can set the frame rate of the room, and that determines how many steps there are. So you can set, timers based on the steps or whatever, and change the frame rate to change how fast the game's running, basically. Mm-hmm. So I was looking at more of that, and then there was. Then I started to get into like where inevitably there's like things that are weird and awkward in this specific case, where it's like the first thing I did when I started trying to make a game, because I think my problem is like I plan ahead too much, and so like I was like, okay, so I basically want to make it generate a level automatically, because you can do that, because basically it conveniently has like random seeds is like a built-in concept almost. So when it does a random roll, it's based off a seed, but you don't necessarily know it unless you specifically use the thing to set the seed. So I was like, oh, that's useful. I can use that for randomly generating a level. So I was like, yeah, I want to do that. But then I thought, well, actually, I could just make the game start and it generates the thing, but I want to kind of make it so that there's like a menu screen, because at some point there's going to need to be a menu screen and a transition into the actual game.
Yeah, that is a bit premature.
Yeah.
But I can see where you come from.
But it's like, it's important to have like, all it needs to do is all I have it do at the moment is like a blank screen, and then you press enter and it goes to the actual game level.
Yeah.
But then I was like, but then I want to make a fancy transition as well, so I might as well just like get that.
Definitely tackling it from the wrong direction.
Well, no, it's because it was like, one of the tutorials basically deals with that kind
Okay.
of thing, and I was like, well, this will be good practice to replicate this stuff
Sure.
again. But then the problem I ran into is because like when you're using the code still is. It's like you basically have events which are like there's the step event for every step of the game, and then there's like the creation event for when an object appears, and then there's like timer events and all that stuff. But the code still runs within those events, so it's like you still have to say when something happens, then run this code.
Yeah, it's async.
Yeah, but then the trouble with that is like certain actions don't work unless they're in the right event. Like, you can't... like, the problem I was having was I wanted to... It's like, you want to make a fade, so basically you make a black rectangle that covers the screen, and it just changes its alpha value. So
that old favourite.
That old chestnut.
Yeah, so it fades it out. But the trouble is you can't put the draw events that draw the rectangle have to be in a draw event, or they just don't work.
Okay.
So what
you have to draw event every frame.
Yeah, so you have to have the draw event every frame, and then just change a value in another event that's on the timer that changes what the alpha in the draw event is.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So that's fine.
As long as you've got budget to do change alpha and draw every frame, which you obviously will.
Yeah.
If you're at
But it's just like, that was kind of the first step where I was like, oh, this is kind of awkward. Because I just want...
That's proper code-based animation happening. That's how you have to plan this stuff about an animation framework.
Yeah, but it's just really... It was like... That was confusing me for ages, because I couldn't work out what the hell it was like... And also... Well, it has a debugger and everything, and it's like, so you can monitor, like, I was monitoring the values, it's like, well, when you hit enter, that value clearly changes, so that bit works.
Oh, that would have been so useful in the fucking Games Factory. You know,
Yeah.
when weird shit starts to happen, your
What was
ability
it?
to just go...
Just a
just a debugger, yeah, because remember the techniques you had to use in the Games Factory was like, oh, this counter
Yeah,
object,
set a bunch of
I'm going to make that visible and put it on the gameplay area somewhere, and like, so when something happens, I can perhaps see if that value changes. But
Yeah.
So does the debugger let you like step through the sequence of events that occur, and then what code ends up getting run? And
I don't know if it has exactly step through. I think there is some kind of step through as well, but I'm not sure how
because the step through was shit in Games Factory.
Yeah, it was
That's where the
terrible.
problem was, because you turned it on and it would just
play the entire fucking game in step through.
yeah, or and there'd be just way too much happening. You'd want to be able to say, okay, once this event, you want to set break events.
Yeah,
You want to say when this event occurs, okay, then I want to step through everything that happens from this moment.
conditional breakpoints almost.
Kinda, yeah. Well, it'd be enough. Like, well, when you're dealing with actual code, you have a breakpoint, don't you? And then it's like then on the thing that you want to do, and then your step through from then is just it doesn't just start running automatically until you just go through every line. And I'd want to have it that way.
But then the trouble with this, like, what I was having problems with this debugging was, like, I had the debugger up, and then I was, triggering the event that should cause the thing to happen. But then, it's like, it doesn't crash, it just stops doing anything. It's like, even the debugger doesn't detect anything any longer. And I was like, well, that's incredibly unhelpful, because it's not actually telling me anything at all.
That happens. I can get Visual Studio into that kind of state on a frequent basis.
It would be fine if there was a crash message. Then it would make sense.
Do you get crash dumps with like stack traces so you can see what event?
Not really. It's more like it only
Went
tells
wrong.
you the exact line.
Oh, okay.
No, it doesn't really give you
Doesn't tell you what led to that line.
No, not really.
Okay.
something. It just goes, something happened here.
Yeah.
This is the last thing I ran before I exploded.
So that's fine. I got that transition working, and that's good. And then I was just really, it was more mainly I just have like awesome ideas, and I've been thinking of like how it should work.
Cool.
But then it's the ever difficult part of just like, where do you even start? you got to build everything up from nothing.
Yeah.
Even with this framework where I'm not having to do any of the actual like clue detection programming or whatever.
Well, maybe you could find other game maker games that are doing part that's
Just steal
similar.
it.
And well, yeah, not steal it, but like see how they did it. If it's open
It's like
source.
I have ideas. I've got like totally awesome game ideas, but god damn it.
Well, this is the thing
Effort.
you should probably take it from the approach on. And something we were shit at, I think, or as I was shit at when dealing with Games Factory, is I didn't like to prototype
No.
because I just wanted to make the game.
Yeah.
And it's like the game was the prototype, and if it worked, and if it didn't work, it was just like, well, fuck it, we'll just finish this.
Yeah, fuck it.
Or carry on with it. So yeah, I guess that's what you should do, is just try your ideas in really simple, like, small scenarios.
individually, maybe. And then
Well, I'm thinking
pull them
like
together later.
for this first thing where I want to just do the random level generation. It's the classic thing of just like there's a bunch of placeholder graphics where it's like squares of colour that mean, or even just like have it just draw an array as like a grid of numbers. That would be enough.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, your Dwarf Fortress experience will help you there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably what I was thinking of doing, and
Sounds right.
at least it has arrays and shit as well. That was obvious. I was looking in the code base to be like, let's just make sure this actually has the useful parts before I commit to anything.
How useful all that shit then it would have been.
I guess there are no arrays in Games Factory. That's
Not in Games Factory, no. There weren't proper ones. There were extensions eventually.
How the hell did we get anywhere? Jeez.
Well, we didn't at the time. I don't think we fully understood what arrays could be useful for until the end of what we were doing.
Yeah, I mean, it would have solved that freaking atomic thing. It could have made it actually work.
Oh god, yeah.
I mean, for example, and Pack Rocket would have been a 2D array, wouldn't it? That would have worked. Anyway,
could you have like made really like dumb arrays in Games Factory by like having an array made out of objects in one direction and then ultimate values in the other direction?
But you could theoretically do it by having an object that would change its position like somewhere off screen.
Like an actual physical array where it sets its aim position and then whatever it's overlapping it writes data to.
And then you could theoretically have an event to fire on its moving, so that you then get an overlap event and then you change the thing that it's overlapping.
Oh no.
You could come up with something stupid like
that's how like the bullshit messaging of Pack Rocket where it's like, okay, this needs to send a message to the next one, so let's fire an object, and then we'll fire two, and sometimes they'll get
that was how the atomic engine.
Well, that's how I did Pack Lock as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The atomic engine.
The actual animation where the waves come out, that's what it's creating.
That's actually making it work.
But for those, Atomic was basically, you can probably find games like this. It was Atoms, like the classic sort of board gamey thing. But it had a fatal flaw as like, I couldn't handle two objects going into the same thing at the same time because the event that got created would just fire once instead of twice. So it actually doesn't work properly because you can't create like the endless.
You need to kind of stagger the...
Couldn't you just solve that by making it like each direction comes out
a different time?
Like one different speed or something?
Maybe, but I got bored at that point.
Fuck it. Working on the awesome graphics.
Well, yeah. Well, the point was that I want things to kind of explode in time, but that's not how the original Atoms engine works. Like from the original old days, it would do one thing, as you say, and treat that as a thing. It would treat the whole sequence of events sequentially rather than me when I wanted everything to happen at once and be like, wow, really big explosions.
Yeah.
And it's like, that didn't work.
So anyway, I have awesome ideas for games, but they're all clearly way too complicated for like just starting. But what the fuck, I'll try it.
And you don't want to say anything on the air, I guess.
Particularly.
You tell us something afterwards of your plans. It could probably help.
It's like, well, yeah, obviously.
I hope so, anyway. It sounds cool.
But it's like the ideas that I have. Well, actually,
you have the Glacial Music Library.
Music is available.
But
that's probably the biggest strength of all of our games. The fact that we had your music.
Pretty much.
Oh, I don't know about that.
It's like two of the ideas that I had are pretty much the same. Actually, pretty much all three of them are pretty much the same thing, only in different environments with slightly different twists. But
sounds like multiple levels.
Not really.
Right.
Different games.
You could combine them, couldn't you? To have this,
well, that was the trouble.
That
was the trouble. I came up with like one of these ideas just started as like one thing, and then it just kept evolving. And I was like, yeah, that would be awesome as well if you could do that. And then it was like that led to the second game where I was like, well, what if we took this out of this environment, took the same ideas, put them in a different environment, and then make a new game? And then it's like, why don't you just put those into one? Make one Uber game.
You mean away?
Way to go.
But that's how like a design process.
Is good though. You know that.
That's how a design process would work, though, isn't it? Because in theory, like if you think that your later ideas are better than your initial ones, then just trash the initial ones. So
but then the trouble there is commitment. You're going to build one fucking huge game. It's going to take a really long time.
Well, building a game takes a long time.
And you know that you've been playing games. This just isn't complicated enough. It's awesome, but it's not complicated enough.
But that's why you make your own game, because then you can make exactly what you want.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, but you don't need it to be complicated enough. You just need to make meta breed.
Well, I was considering doing that.
Well,
but then when I was
going to do that,
then I was thinking about like trying to remake Meta Breed in this game maker. I was like,
should be awesome.
Yeah, but I was like, what actual mechanics could you add to make Metabreed an actual game?
Yeah, how do you make it actually work? Because that was the bit I always struggled with.
The thing is,
anyway, no one's going to know what the fuck we're talking about at this point.
you can't really influence the way, the direction the thing bounces off your pad. That's the trouble. So you can't
Yeah,
really...
if I could have added that with a bit more...
You could easily... Actually, that's one of the tutorials in Game
If I could have,
There's a breakout where the ball hits the pad and it goes in a different direction.
Yeah, if I could have influenced that in a slightly better way, had that breakout control. Weirdly, I kind of had that in a stupid way in the first version of Metabreed.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
So for those that are listening,
They didn't
Metabreed
really-
is basically sort of breakouty, but with gravity kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you're bouncing like Pac-Man.
That's the other problem with
They're different
Metabreed, is
colours.
you can't use
I
packs.
can't use packs. No, we'd have to come up with some other creature.
But luckily, it's
So-
not called pack something like
No.
everything else we made.
But yeah, in the first game, I had that almost accidental. I can't remember how I did it, or if it was intentional, and if it wasn't the spin mechanic, where if you hit them
As you were moving.
and your pad had momentum, it could influence the way that they were moving.
But it was just too hard to actually use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't precise.
And I think I can't remember if I just. Oh, no, I'm sure he had some angling in Metabreed too.
Yeah.
I think
It just
you did.
wasn't very accurate.
And it's not like you could... It was not like that in that... That was the trouble with the mechanics in that game, is like... It's not like you could actually have time to think to
No.
aim two things to collide.
No,
No.
it's just impossible. That's the trouble.
It's all about the power-ups.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy ass power-ups.
I still think it's great, though.
It's fun, but it doesn't really work as a...
No.
The time mechanic didn't work properly, really. Like, the pacing as to how good a game should be.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll make a video of that at some point.
Yeah, it just puts in perspective that, we were doing this for, I guess, a good misspent part of our youth, maybe. And, we still didn't really have it
Misspent.
down how to make good mechanics, work, really. We had good ideas that perhaps could have been moulded into something, but our execution always had some flaw. Sometimes because of games factory, sometimes because the mechanics just didn't. We didn't
Quite
get
a lot of time because of Game Factory, really.
Yeah, but there would be say Metabreed's fault was that I couldn't get the balance right really between the various elements, so it came together as a nice whole that made sense. Not that making sense was really a goal for that game,
But that was still partially Game Factory's fault even then, because it was like the actual problem was just the collisions.
yeah, true.
The actual way it registered collisions between the bats and the balls was so dodgy in itself.
Oh yeah, that stuff fucked up. I meant the balance between doing well, meaning you have a longer game but not long enough that it would. They could just make the timer go to some stupidly high number and you'd never die.
Well, that was the infinite combo problem. That was actually a mechanical problem with the power, really.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was those kind of issues that I just I didn't come up with good solutions for.
So anyway.
But anyway, yeah, I was trying to say, the design of games is actually, when you boil it down to something, making something good, it's pretty hard. It's one of the things that the Bejeweled guys perhaps get a bit of a rap for, because match 3, but it's actually the mathematics of perhaps moving level to level and how they make it harder within that framework.
Yeah.
There's actually a very careful balance to that, and they got it right.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work. So anyway, that's making games.
Yep.
I haven't left you. You got 20 minutes.
Yeah, plenty of time. Because I also bought, with this 360 controller, I also got 2 3DS games, because obviously, put them in the same package.
Actually.
Can you use your...
Although actually not in the same package, because one of them came from a different place.
Of course.
And was sent first and arrived second in the classic style.
because of Amazon's weirdness.
Because of Amazon's tax dodging.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But, I think it wasn't even Amazon. I think that second one was someone selling through Amazon.
But yeah, even so, that's
not
weirdness.
technically Amazon.
Fair dues.
But yeah, that was the one that got sent first and arrived second. Because it was that had, they were both on free 3 to 5 day shipping or whatever. But the one that wasn't Amazon, surprisingly enough, didn't turn up as quickly. Because somehow Amazon always managed to pull that off, where it's 3 to 5 days and it still manages to turn up in 2, even though it came from Switzerland.
Yeah, my cooler was like that. It turned up a few days early. But then it was courier.
Yeah. So I got 2 3DS games to continue 3DSing. One of which Rob was enthusiastic about until I said wasn't as good as it was meant to be.
I'm a bit bummed about that because the internet led me down a merry path. By the sounds of it.
Yeah, it was because it was basically the only reason I got it was because it was cheap from this other place that wasn't Amazon. It was like 13 quid for the 3DS version of Sonic Generations. That Rob was so
which everyone said was supposed to be good, and that's one of the reasons why I might have perhaps if I had a 3DS, I would have
one of those games you would have got.
Yeah, I would have highly considered that. Sonic game, and like off the bat of the previous handheld Sonic games being pretty good.
Yeah,
like why would this not be? And
but the trouble with it is that I don't think the level design is very good. Is the main problem with it. It's just like.
There are some definite examples of some shitness there, like the things that Sonic isn't good at.
Yeah, it's like it's always the classic problem with the 2D Sonics is they always did fall into the same trap of like bits where you have to stop and do precise platforming and random death bits. I mean, those have been around for fucking ever in Sonic.
I mean, you can do it as long as you telegraph it.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Bits of the Sonic Generations on the PC have bits where you could die if you get it a bit wrong. Yeah. But normally there's like a something that forces you, or some way of telegraphing, so you're in a state where you don't just plow for it and die.
which in some cases in the 3DS game is like you just hit something and stop, and that's meant to be the bit.
And then you land in the dangerous section. Yeah, that's fine. That works. That's a legitimate strategy.
But it's just like it's still incredibly jarring, and a lot of the time. I don't know if it's just like the camera's too zoomed in again, which is another problem they often fall into with this game, where it's just like you don't see it coming nearly enough, and there's easily bits where... Because the whole point of the game, or so it seems like, well, for the mod Sonic, I guess, the whole point is just like boost all the time, because that was what made the old handheld like Rush and Rush 2. That's what made those games good. You find the route where you can boost the entire time, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, and that even worked in modern... most of the modern Sonic games, including Generations, the modern bits of Generations, where it was just like there was a route most of the time where you not necessarily could boost all the time, but a lot of the levels were designed in a way where if you knew the routes and knew when to do something, you could optimize your run.
And that might still be the case in the 3DS version. It's just not. It just doesn't seem nearly as easy to do. And there's a lot of cases where,
the shit routes seem really shit.
Yeah, the shit routes are really shit, so they really suck. And there's a lot of cases where it does the classic problem of sometimes you'll just like go up a ramp and you're boosting, you'll continue boosting, but because you're boosting, that'll actually make you go too far and then you'll fall in a hole. And it's like that's
a fail. They really shouldn't. I mean, I don't think they kind of learnt that. I think in the big boy Sonic games, I guess, on the main consoles, because I think Sonic Unleashed had a bit of a problem with that in places, and then Sonic Colors, they kind of learned not to do that, and sort of corrected it.
Yeah.
And then Sonic Generations didn't really have that problem at all.
No.
And it's so that seems like a bit of a...
And then
perhaps they had a younger team or a team that hadn't learned that lesson again or something.
Maybe.
Because it's supposed to be Dimps handling most of this. And Dimps they've got a bit of a proven record in getting Sonic right.
Hmm.
So how they've done it so weird this time is a bit mysterious.
And then the other problem is that, half the game is the modern Sonic and half the game is classic Sonic. And the classic Sonic levels are, really boring and not actually... Those are maybe even worse for, precise platforming because of the way the old Sonic handles.
Well,
for some reason, they decided to give classic Sonic a homing attack.
Yeah, that's dumb.
And also, that homing attack is, even in modern Sonic as well, both the homing attacks are unnecessarily finicky in, there's a very small window of lock-on, where it's unless you hit it in the exact window, you just miss.
Again, that was a problem with the sort of older iterations when homing attack became a thing, that, sometimes that window was a bit too thin.
Yeah. Back in...
it's intentionally done in some levels of Sonic Generations that the window is thin.
Well, yeah, when you're moving super fast.
Yeah, to make that route hard. And it's
but it's in Sonic Adventure 2, you didn't even tell you what you were locked onto, you just had to know.
Yeah, and that could occasionally really fuck you up.
So yeah, it's just I don't know what it is. It's just a weird combination of all these little things that makes it feel not as good.
Yeah, the classic mode doesn't make sense to put the homing attack in for a start. That is not the point of what the game was trying to do.
No.
And I don't know, the bit that stood out for me as an example of bad level design was when you were doing, I think it was Radical Highway, and the amount of time you had to spend waiting for a platform to slowly move into the right position so you could then jump. And normally, like on a well-designed level, even in Sonic Adventure 2 for that matter, the platforms are moving pretty quickly.
Yeah.
For you to, so you don't have to wait very long if you do fuck up your timing.
I mean, obviously
that's really bad.
Obviously, that was like
game,
the
that is
shitty
all-
shit route.
I mean, that's bad in general for platformers, where you have to waste time waiting for a platform that's off screen to come back to you.
Yeah,
That's just bad in general. But to do that in a Sonic game is sacrilege.
You're just fucking standing there. That's not what Sonic should be doing.
Yeah, that really grinded my gears. That one grinded my goat.
Yes. and then like maybe the final like semi disappointment. Well, sort of.
Ground my goat, I suppose. That's what I should say.
The other semi disappointment of the 3DS one is, well, firstly, there's not as many levels as there should be, because in proper generations there's 3 from each time period or whatever you consider it.
Oh yeah, for each era.
Yeah, for each era. But in the DS one, there's only 3 in the first one, and then there's 2 in the other 2. So it's like
you're missing out on 2 zones.
Yeah, you feel like you're missing 2 levels, and because there's only like one Sonic and one Classic Sonic. I mean, they didn't change that from the other generations, so you do feel like you're just missing 4 levels.
Mm.
And then the other disappointment with that is, for some reason, they got lazy with the music as well, where it's just like, yeah, for a couple of the levels, the classic Sonic level just has the original music, and the modern Sonic level has a slight modern remix.
Yeah, they didn't get quite so ambitious with the music, which is a shame because the Sonic Generations mixes are really good. There's a few of the remixes I quite like.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, the difference between, as you say, the classic and modern remix is subtle at best.
Or it's just like, it's just like Emerald Coast. It's like the classic Sonic is the original Emerald Coast music, and the modern Sonic is like the Act 2 version of that, or whatever.
Or from Sonic Heroes, or like from Tails'
version of Emerald Coast or something. It's another track that was in that game.
Yeah, it's not a remix.
Well, slightly remixed to just make it slightly funkier.
Maybe I didn't even really notice that.
Yeah, but that's just like kind of lazy.
Yeah, it's a real shame because I'd read on the internet and like through reviews and stuff. This was actually supposed to be pretty good, pretty along the same vein as the big console version of Sonic Generations. That they'd been creative with the level design. They'd been somewhat respectful of your nostalgia, I guess.
Yeah.
On it, and it's having seen it in action, that's just not true. Really, it is the lazy version, and it's like they pick some pretty great levels in places like what they could have worked from, because like they could have done something with Mushroom Hill, perhaps, but sort of didn't in the end. It is just Mushroom Hill at the end, and it's like they haven't really changed enough to warrant its inclusion, really. I'm trying to think what else they did, because they did, was it the Water Palace from Rush, which is again quite an interesting choice. That was one of the more recognizable levels from that game, even if it is just like a water level, really. But they did clever things in Rush that meant you didn't really have to go underwater for long if you could help it.
Yeah,
and it's like it's not really true in this. You're kind of forced into the water and have to do probably shit Sonic water section.
Yeah,
it's. And again, the music was one of those sort of like lazy remixes or not a remix at all style things, and it's like again a bit of a wasted opportunity.
And they didn't do any like reinvented mechanics. Like when you get to Water Palace in modern Sonic, it still has the things from Rush, like you boost into the fan blades and then it sends you up instead of down. Those are still there. It's just like, well, that's just how it was. And then for Classic Sonic, you get a new mechanic that they just made up, which was never in the original level.
Because Spagonia was kind of a questionable entry in big generations until you played it, and then you realise, they've actually taken the Unleashed level and sort of fixed where it was wrong in the Unleashed version.
Yeah, like
they've corrected. They haven't necessarily reinvented the level, but at least took what was there and fixed it. Where it was a lot of what I saw in the 3DS version seems to be, they've took what was there and fucked it.
I tell you what else, like another example of that is like the Mushroom Hill mushrooms, like bouncing off them really sucks. It's like...
Well, it was always kind of crappy.
Well, yeah, it was always crappy, but now it's actually really hard to actually even do it.
No.
Like the hit zone of the mushroom is somehow really small.
Voila. I mean, we're talking a lot about... There's a lot to hate on here. Ultimately, it doesn't seem like it's a terrible Sonic game.
No.
It's not Sonic 06. And, hell, I'll even put it above Sonic Unleashed, that kind of...
But it's very, it's super simple as well. It's just like the level select is just a fucking level select. I mean, Generations had that as well, technically.
Kind of.
But it feels even more weird in this one, where it's just like a white background with some icons.
Well, yeah, you don't have the hub world, and they do still have a challenge system, which sounded, legitimately challenging.
Yeah.
But
but it's not part of the game any longer. You don't have to do the challenges to progress.
No, there feels like there's less to it, whereas, the Rush games obviously had quite a lot of meta game, not just the levels. You could spend quite a lot of time just fucking around doing other stuff.
Yeah. And the other thing that's slightly annoying is the bosses, because they got lazy with them.
Oh, yeah, but bosses... Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's like in between each of the, eras or whatever, there's 2 bosses. You have to do both of them to progress. For no apparent reason, they just decide to jam 2 bosses in each time. One of which is, a proper boss, I guess. Well, more in, the Rush style, of course, because, it has to be in some kind of 2D plane of some kind. But then the other one is just, a race where you just have to, run ahead of, basically what it is memorizing a level. Because it does a thing where it's you're running along a flat plane and then there's a U-shaped hole where you'll run along the walls, and the enemy will do that. But if you just jump across the gap, it's faster, and that's how you get ahead of them.
But then again, all race bosses have been a bit like...
Well, yeah. But then the trouble is, they do that in each of these pairs of bosses. One of them is a race. So it's it just gets harder. But the last one is not actually a race.
Oh, the silver one.
Yeah.
Yes, the silver one's pretty broken.
It's it's a race against Silver, apart from as soon as you get slightly ahead of him, he just teleports to where you are.
So it's actually an entire game on level of pacing yourself.
Yeah, so you just don't race, you just stay next to him the entire time, and then just save up your boost so you can, right at the end, just go whoop!
Boing. Stragos.
It's pretty dumb.
Yeah, it's super dumb. So yeah, that game is average, I guess.
Yeah,
I see.
I'd rather play...
It's easy for us to pick out all the fails in it because, we've played so many Sonic games.
Yeah, I'd rather play the older Rushes.
Yeah, definitely. Rush 1 and Rush Adventure are pretty fine games.
Yeah. Just for running through the levels.
So if you ever have a 3DS, just go play those.
Yeah, they'll still work.
Yeah.
And then the other 3DS game, how much longer have we got to talk?
Well, we never covered
10 minutes.
Sonic Colors, did we, on 3DS?
No.
Which is, again, isn't supposed to be bad, but...
Judging by this.
Yeah, I now question the internet's judgment of Sonic. For the most part, they're normally pretty okay at it, because there's a lot to hate on Sonic 06, definitely, and a lot to hate on Sonic Unleashed.
What's this Lost World thing?
It's pretty soon, before the end of the year on Wii U.
Yeah. Penny Arcade just posted a comment where they said it might not be shit gravy. It's just that's hell of a box.
But I saw that Penny Arcade comic, and they did the classic thing that everyone still does, where it's
all Sonic
games are bad. It's have you not played the last fucking 4 of them?
That's not true. I'd say
they've been pretty good.
I'd say you have a 50-50 bet with a Sonic game, generally. I mean, that's pretty low odds, admittedly. It may be higher than that, actually, to satisfy me, but that's not saying much. But, if you're talking...
They've been good recently. I mean, come on.
Colours was great.
Colours, Generations, and the DS games.
Yeah, the DS games were probably more... I suppose, during the same time as the DS games, we did get treated to Sonic 06 and Sonic Unleashed, which are not... Well, the Sonic parts of Sonic Unleashed were great. The Werehog parts of Sonic Unleashed were pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And it's oh no, I shouldn't have thought of that. I've got the fucking fight music from Sonic Unleashed in my head now.
So good.
In all its jazzy glory.
Talk about something else.
Oh, yeah, someone please change topic. Talk about Mario and Luigi for 5 minutes.
Yep, that's the plan. That was the other thing I got. Mario and Luigi Dream Team Bros, because they had to add bros to it for some reason in the European territories.
Bros.
Oh, it didn't have bros in...
No, in the US.
Oh, wow. Okay,
it's just called Dream Team, which is a much better name.
I thought they perhaps would have had, it sounds more likely that they'd have put bros in the American edition.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's a pretty good game. It's just another Mario and Luigi RPG of the same exact way they've been doing it since the start of active battles and that kind of thing.
The bit you showed me with those muscle
Well, you
guys.
like that. You just like that because of those characters.
Oh man, those guys are great.
The Russian-sounding muscle guys.
Yeah.
Well, Russian-looking text because
And
it's not actually voice
What
acted.
they say, yeah.
Yeah, they say "da."
Oh, da. Sorry, yeah.
Da.
That's yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, they say da. They talk about beef.
Yep.
Which is
you have to
great.
get beef.
You have to get beef.
Get
And
beef.
there's lots of random meat references because of that. It's pretty funny writing, it has to be said. Even if
Yeah.
it is dumb, but that's what those...
That's what those games are about.
Yeah, the team they always have on the Mario RPG stuff.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
They're really good. I mean, even if Super Paper Mario was a bit disappointing on the gameplay, whereas the writing's pretty great.
Yeah.
Thousand Year Door is freaking
Yeah,
awesome.
Thousand Year Door's writing is genius. Like all the Mario and Luigi series games have been pretty genius.
Yep.
It's like these guys are right.
Yeah.
Let's just make some big games. I don't want them on handhelds. I don't want to play an RPG on a handheld. I don't like the idea of spending that much time on a handheld. I mean, yes, I've done it before in Golden Sun, I guess, but
Yeah.
I want to play those games like on a couch.
Well, it's not like these are exactly RPGs anyway. It's like the Mario and Luigi's have never been really RPGs. It's like, wow, you get stats and they level up, and then you can put like slight bonus stats into whatever you want, but that doesn't really make much difference.
I guess, but they're quite long games, aren't they? So
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That is the
I mean,
RPG
and
part.
yes, I could play my handheld in my hands on a couch, but I could do that with my iPad, like for various things, and I choose not to because I have a television on which to display them. And it's like, I don't normally get out my iPad for a game of length. I still don't really want to. I want to do that on a console. It's like if they made those games on a console, I'd be happy. If that game came out on Wii U, I'd be happy. Which it probably could.
Yeah, probably. It's not like they use the touchscreen for virtually anything.
Yeah. Again, it's another one of those, like, Ninty just perhaps focuses a little too heavy on their handheld market right now.
It's because the Wii U's not selling in the 3DS.
I know, it's a
And it's because it's
Chicken
probably
egg.
much easier to generate assets when it's for a tiny ass 3DS screen.
Exactly.
they don't have to be, like, complex assets, that's the thing. Like, even Nintendo's, like, simple flat art style it translates to HD pretty well.
If they'd gone
without-
back to paper area, then that would have been
Well,
the
exactly.
solution.
Yeah, just the simple flat colours with the occasional bit of, like, a lump of detail on it. That doesn't take long to knock up, surely, like,
And this
at a high res.
this game it actually has kind of weird. It's like they're pre-rendered sprites, basically. Or, well, that's what they appear to be, as far
Yeah.
as you can tell.
I think you're right.
But it's like they're pre-rendered sprites, but they still have the same animations as they used to, which is actually really weird. Like they still have it follows the animation that the original sprites had, only in this updated way. Like the stupid little dance that they do at the end of the battle. That's
yeah.
still the same from the original game.
Yeah, even their sort of, like, standing pose
Yeah.
is,
The fight pose.
Yeah, the idle pose, I guess. Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty good. And then like we said, it does that. It does various things with 3D to make it actually.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Although
The fight mechanics in general are still pretty cool.
Yeah, the active battle stuff. But maybe the one problem I have with it is that, like, the difficulty just seems to vary dramatically between, like, way too easy and incredibly difficult just all the time. It's like one enemy will be complete piss to just avoid and counter and dodge and time its attacks and see what it's doing. And then, like, another enemy right next to it will have something where you can barely see it and you get hit every time. And then you just lose all your health. And then, like, boss battles have almost pretty much entirely so far been incredibly difficult compared to everything that's just before them.
That was kind of true of a lot of these RPGs, though, isn't it? Like a lot of the Mario.
Well, sort of. Well, I think the main problem with this whole idea of, like, active battles and dodging is that it's fine for normal enemies because they don't do very much damage. So if you take an attack the first time you see it because you don't know what's coming, it doesn't matter that much. But when you're in a boss battle and the boss does fucking tons of damage, you get hit by its attack and then you're basically fucked from the start because you don't know what's coming.
Oh, I see, yeah. You reckon they should perhaps, like, have bosses that perhaps ramp up their attacks a little. So like they.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean,
like the first time it does an attack, perhaps its window is somewhat obvious, and like as you go through it has one of those like halfway through the fight kind of moments, and then all of a sudden the timing gets tighter.
Maybe, but then I mean, they maybe not intentionally, but they put in a mechanic that you can use to mitigate this, where they're the new version of the badge system where you can get power ups. Mm-hmm. Basically, you have 2 sets of badges now for each character for Mario and Luigi.
2 sets of badges?
2 sets of badges.
Badger.
But, like, basically, each of the badges is a half.
Right, out of time.
And then you combine them together.
Get this out in 30 seconds.
Yep. You combine the 2 badges together and it makes a different effect depending on what the combination is.
Cool.
And one of the combinations you can make just basically gives you invincibility for a certain number of turns. So that's basically how I've been mitigating this problem of not...
Oh, I see. So you have one of those in reserve for a boss fight.
Yeah, as soon as the boss fight starts, just go like, I'll be invincible for the first 6 turns while I work this shit out.
Oh, that's genius. Yeah.
It's genius, but maybe, like, is that really what they were planning for? Is that, like, how they were solving the problem of not being able to balance the game properly?
Yeah, and you kind of have to plan for that. Anyway, we're done here. 20 seconds to wrap it up.
Yeah. Well, that's Mario and Luigi.
It's still a good game.
Yeah,
as all of them have been.
I can
check that out. And thanks for joining us on the Saladcast, and we'll have more next time.
We should try and talk longer about good games, perhaps.
Maybe.
God, talking about good games is boring.
More fun with good and bad games next time. Bye, guys.
Thank you for
Bye.